Welcome back to the OCS for Day 2. My name is Jake Hysterics, Aussie Penko. Here today, of course, with Zach Rusty Pie. And Zach, hang on. There's my headset, it's on. How you feeling?
Oh, good, mate. Much better now. I know your headset's not going to fall off. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. After yesterday's great performance, I'm a bit more excited for OCS today.
Yeah, definitely excited. I cannot wait for these games to come through. Hopefully we get all of them going to the clutch third game.
Yeah, definitely. As we have a look at the schedule now, going into today's games. But before that, looking at yesterday's games of Sin versus Equalizer, 2-0 there, having a flawless victory there. And of course, Krispy Kreme crew had to pull out there, but Absolute taking the victory there as well by default. Moving on to today's games, we do have Best Players Ocean coming there, as well as Rebellion. And of course, we've got Chaos Esports coming in with bang. It's going to be an absolute fantastic day for it.
Certainly, I cannot wait for these games to begin, and we're not far away now from Best Players Ocean up against Rebellion.
Yeah, definitely not. Now, what are some really popular picks we can look at that are coming into these games that we might see from these new players?
Well, it's hard to say because they are new players. There's not a whole lot that we know about them. We do know that they're very strong solo queue players, but as a team, most of them have not been together for too long. Looking at Best Players Ocean, there are a lot of friends that have played together for quite a while, but being in a team together as 5, very new to them.
Yeah, and Rebellion hopefully going to counteract maybe if Best Players Ocean actually make an impact early. I'm looking forward to Jinx. I've seen it so much recently, and I love Jinx so much, so I'm hoping I see that in the bottom lane.
Jinx is one of those really cool champions, very unique play style. You scale really well into the late game, but you can still do so much early with your team if you have a really strong support. A fun champion to watch and a fun champion to play.
And I'd love to play a fun champion, especially since it is single eliminations there. So if you want a really strong champion, Jinx is definitely the way to go.
Jinx is one of many potential options that they may take in this, but we're not entirely sure what they will take. As we said, very new teams as of 5. Strong solo queue players, though.
But coming into this game, we do know a little bit about Best Players Ocean and Rebellion. They're both fairly new teams.
Yeah, fairly new teams. There are a couple prominent players, though. We have Katie on Rebellion, and he used to be in Team Unlimited, who actually competed over in New Zealand for Armageddon last year.
Yeah, and of course, they're very... It's going to be a big test to see if we can work in some synergy as we do move to the champion select now, and we see the first ban as LeBlanc, and for Rebellion, the first ban, Aurelia, and another quick ban for Vi.
Yeah, so LeBlanc and Aurelia are both target bans. I can guarantee that the LeBlanc was to get it away from Katie, the Aurelia was to get it away from Chippies. Both very scary on those respective champions.
As we see Hecarim getting banned with that common teleport and ignite going top, but not this game, as another ban for Best Players Ocean, finishing with Corki.
Yeah, getting rid of Vi, strong jungler, smart decision all around. They just don't want Vi to be there. Same with Hecarim. Provides so much for a team, and it's not something that you want to be involved with.
No, definitely not. As Victor now gets banned, no Chaos Storm this game, unfortunately.
No Chaos Storm. I think the teams in OCS have started to realize that Victor is a very strong champion and worth banning away if someone can play it.
Yeah, as we see the first pick, so much confidence there as Chippy locks in Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai is amazing. Rek'Sai does so much for a team. He can build tank, he can build damage, depending on how he goes. The gank potential with your tunnels, the Prey Seeker, the fact that you have a sonar radar practically. You can just do so much with that champion, and he is so fun to watch.
It's going to be fun to see these tunnels throughout the game as we see. Now Rebellion have their first 2 picks and maybe try to counter the Rek'Sai in the jungle.
Yeah, well, there's the option of picking a jungle now that you know what theirs is. But you don't often do that. You'd look to prioritize another lane, maybe a strong pick, as we see the Sion and Graves hovered. Both smart decisions. Sion extremely strong.
Yeah, Sion in that top lane. We're seeing that quite a lot, but what's the huge strength to Sion these days?
Well, Sion's just an immovable object, and he's got shields for days. He does not die, and even if he does die, he's going to come back and he's going to hit away at you with that passive. All around, so strong.
That unstoppable onslaught. That's what I'm going to look forward to seeing as we see Zara being hovered there, but Luch locking in Morgana.
Yeah, Morgana with Rek'Sai is an interesting combo in itself. You don't often see them working together, but if you get a spell shield on a Rek'Sai who's going to tunnel in towards you, I don't know how you stop that.
So far, their team composition's coming together quite nicely. Well, Graves being out in the open there, and another fun ADC down the bottom lane that I like to see, like Jinx, as the timer comes down and we've got 20 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, Graves is a very strong mid-game champion. He likes to get a first item, maybe even a brutalizer if he's winning early in the game, get some relevance and start bursting people down. He has a lot of mobility coming into the late game as well. The only downfall of Graves is his low auto attack range.
Yeah, we're going to see some quick draws coming out soon as we see the Lucian being hovered there, and Lucian gets locked in against Graves, most probably.
Yeah, Lucian locked in is... You don't often see much Lucian at the moment, but seeing as he's been locked in, they must be very proficient on that champion. Most people who play Lucian since the changes, they're always really good on that champion.
Yeah, Lucian, a force to be reckoned with, and of course, a couple of patches back, he was a very popular pick, as now we see that it's come back to Rebellion, and maybe a Lissandra in that top lane.
Yeah, look, Lissandra is one of those champions that could be mid or top. You don't actually know which way she's going to go. Very strong flex pick, but seeing as they've got the Scion, it's most likely going to be the mid Lissandra.
Yeah, well, obviously there, as now Thresh gets hovered over as well, back to Ari there, and Thresh does get locked in, and there goes Ari as well.
Yeah, so we're seeing our bot lanes come out here. We've got the, most likely anyway, the Morgana and the Lucian up against the Graves and the Thresh, but we cannot trust the Morgana pick. It could well go in another lane, and I don't want to say it just yet.
Just a bit too deceptive there for the time being, and the Thresh down the bottom lane with the Graves, a very common pick.
Yeah, Thresh Graves, both very common. Mostly, I guess, solo queue scene picks. Thresh are always very good for solo queues with the hook and the lantern to save people. But it does have an extremely high relevance in ranked play, in Fives play, in games like this. He can save his teammates. Scion might be able to go in if it's a bad situation. He can just say, never mind, you can come back.
Yeah, and now we see the Orianna getting locked in as well. What a team comp as well. To finish it off, the Nidalee.
Yeah, it was a confidence pick on the Orianna, and the Nidalee was being hovered for quite a while. Looks like it's going to be a lane Nidalee, I would imagine, unless they're putting the Rek'Sai top lane, which would be interesting.
Yeah, that actually might be a bit of a confidence pick there as well. And there's no Aurelia top, or, I mean, they've already got Sion up there, but you could have had something like an Aurelia maybe, and maybe that's why they banned her.
Well, you could have had the Aurelia top, and Chippies, I've no doubt, would love to play that if given the opportunity, but definitely a smart decision to take that away from him. That Aurelia on Chippies is definitely scary. You do not want to see that.
No, but I guess we're going to see the Sion instead, as we see Maokai as the final lock in there. Team comp-wise, what are we looking at here?
Well, from Rebellion, we're looking at a lot of frontline. A lot of frontline. They've got the Thresh, the Scion, and the Maokai. All of them are going to be very immovable come to the mid-late game phases of this game. They've got a Graves, who is innately quite tanky, going to scale very well into the mid-game and reasonably into the late game. And then they've got an Assassin on Ari. So, going with this team comp, they're probably going to just have a front line and hope that Ari and Graves can do enough damage to secure a win. Whereas we're looking at best players Ocean, a bit more well-rounded. They seem to do well at all stages of the game. They do have the Nidalee top from the looks of it. Rek'Sai in the jungle, very strong early. Lucian, Orianna scale extremely well into the late game. And Morgana, good all game. So they're both strong teams, but at different times of the game.
It might actually depend on whether Ari can actually land that charm and force an initiate there and use that team comp, that frontline team comp that you're talking about for Rebellion, as a bit of a backup.
Yeah, the charm's a very good way to initiate out of everything on their team. You'd see the unstoppable onslaught come through. The Thresh might throw the hook out, the death sentence, and they've got multiple ways where they can initiate. It's not going to be too easy to do so, though.
No, definitely not. And Thresh's death sentences, we've seen in past games, or at least in other games, that the death sentence is really the turning point for a team fight if they can initiate that way.
Yeah, the death sentence, if you can initiate with the death sentence, it's not always that easy to do. Teams seem to be aware of the fact that you're going to throw it. You have to kind of position yourself very forward to do it, and they just back off and they react to that. But even having a Morgana, it may work like a double-edged sword here. They know that the spell shield can come out and deny the death sentence, but Thresh can still follow it and flay and use his box.
And coming back to best players Ocean, how do you think that Lucian will work out for them?
Lucian is quite hit and miss, as I said earlier. There's not everybody likes to play him anymore unless they are the master of Lucian. But if he is the master of Lucian, he will do extremely well. He'll scale very well into the late game and start dashing around everywhere like Lucians do.
Yeah, as they always do, and they tend to not pop up too much in this patch, as we've said. So it's really going to come down to skill level in that bot lane, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it will always come down to skill level. The champions themselves, I would say, are fairly evenly matched in the bot lane. Not a very high chance of being able to kill the Lucian or the Morgana, but definitely not a high chance of killing the Graves or Thresh either. Both strong in their own right.
And what are we going to see in this jungle coming in early? Who's going to have the most pressure on this map with these team comps?
If I was to make an assessment based off the champions alone, I would say Rek'Sai is going to have a lot more impact. Rek'Sai sometimes like to farm for level 4 though, opposed to the level 3 gank. Get the second, or get an extra camp even, recall for a jungle item, and then gank, because the impact of a level 4 Rek'Sai is a lot more than the level 3.
And we see him using those ults quite a lot for mobility around the map and to make a lot of pressure. So do you think that might be a bit of a turning point for the teams?
If they're winning the game, you can tell the tunnels, they basically move based on how you're playing the game right now. If you're ahead, the tunnels are more advanced, whereas if you're losing, the tunnels are a lot more defensive. So if they're winning the game convincingly, the tunnels could have an amazing impact. They could be in a weird area that you would never expect the tunnels to be. He could come from behind you.
And what I love is that Rek'Sai wasn't actually banned here, considering of how strong he really is in the jungle. Do you think that was a mistake by Rebellion there?
I wouldn't say it was a mistake as such. I do think that a Rek'Sai ban is definitely, it's worthy of being banned, but they've got too many targeted bans to be able to get rid of everything. They've chosen to get rid of the Aurelia, which they feel is necessary to remove from chippies, and they don't have the room to ban all of these champions, so sacrifices have to be made.
Okay, definitely. And with that Victor as the last ban, you got to help say that popularity comes into these bans a bit, getting rid of one of the most popular champions of these last couple of patches.
Yeah, definitely one of the popular champions of the latest patch. He's started to really shine through. You've seen it used in more regions than just Oceania, and they've started to cotton on that it is a really good champion, and it does ridiculous amounts of damage. And getting rid of it is smart if they know that they play the Victor.
And as we come into this game now as well, we're looking at two teams that are quite fresh faces and with good team comps, I think, might make up the synergy, as we were talking about earlier, as they might not have the synergy because they're all really just solo queue players, aren't they?
Well, they are. A lot of them are solo queue players. They've all been around for a while, though. And having played solo queue enough, you start to develop this innate ability to team fight well. Having an AoE type team comp is one of the more basic types. And you'll see that all of the solo queue players, if they do an AoE team comp, they'll tend to do it perfectly fine. It's the more intricate ones with a split push that might confuse them, or early rotations, mid-game rotations that might get them a little bit stumped.
Yeah, definitely. And another point there is, I'm curious to see, I've said this last game, and it's a favourite of mine to see Luden's Echo come out. Now, I must be obsessed with this item because I just keep waiting for it and waiting for it, but when am I going to see it?
I think you are a little bit obsessed with it, Jake, but I haven't yet to see a competitive use for it too much just yet. It's only fresh. The patch hasn't been out for a very long time. They are playing on the live patch though on this tournament server, and they may use it on a champion like an Orianna. It's very good for burst. It's very good for damage over time, and champions who can spam their spells. So champions like a Karthus or even the Orianna, if she hits level 9, being able to throw out the command attack over and over will stack that very quickly, and it's an extra 200 odd bonus damage every single time it hits 100.
And of course that shockwave is going to be another initiator. We talk about initiators for the fight, but what's the best way to use that shockwave at the current moment with the team fight?
Well, we've spoke about this before. The way that you want to use the shockwave, you can tell how it's affected by how the game is going. If the Orianna is losing, you see the shockwave used a lot more defensively. You try and catch them over-aggressing and put them in a really weird, bad position by using the shockwave. But if you're winning the game, you need to be able to use that shockwave aggressively. You need to be able to put them in a really weird position where they have to avoid the ball at all costs. Otherwise, it will go really bad for them. So the best way to use it, it's relative to how the game's going. But I would say offensively is always the best way to use spells.
And hopefully the enemy team can really just make use of that ward coverage so they know when the shockwave's coming in. Maybe not get caught out in a blind sort of pick as we do move into the game now of Rebellion versus best players Ocean. And I cannot be more excited, Rusty.
No, I'm definitely excited to start this game off. It looks like they're going to do a very fairly standard start here, though. Nothing crazy at the moment.
No, best players Ocean on the blue side there and Rebellion on the red. As we see, just a nice start to the game, and Lucian's going to be one we're going to have to watch out for.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on the bottom lane right now. The Lucian can be a big threat if he starts to get ahead, and they definitely do not want that happening.
As Chippy sends a spear straight into Luce in that top lane there, playing the Maokai, and a bit of early game pressure.
Well, he's also just revealed that he has started with the spear. He doesn't have the trap, so he's not going to be able to have the control of the map like you would normally be seeing at level 1. Being able to maybe put it in the jungle somewhere weird that will reveal them when they do a buff. Just get a bit of information. Going for the spear, you're looking to be a bit more aggressive in lane, and they can recognize that.
And the damage before 6 with Needly and Maokai. Who's going to be the most aggressive trader in this lane?
Well, they're both going to be fairly aggressive. The way that Maokai works is the more spells that you use, your passive will give you more health back. So you're going to be using as much spells as possible. But then Nidalee is going to use a lot for you because it does stack from other people. And
I guess both of them in team fights are going to be very aggressive with Nidalee playing the assassin role a bit and perhaps Maokai just being that huge front line alongside Sion.
Yeah, that's right. Their laning phase is going to be fairly standard. They're going to be aggressive on each other. But coming out of the laning phase, chippies will tend to go more towards a ability power-oriented build and poke and sort of sit at the back, whereas the Maokai is going to be in the very front trying to be a brutish tank.
And it looks like Lush will be getting the Wolves there to start off, maybe get a bit of an early level advantage against chippies.
Yeah, he's trying to get the whole camp instead of just the little Raptors. That's going to give him level 2. He's going to be able to do that quite easily because Maokai can start saplings and just throw down an abundance of them before it spawns.
And taking a lot of damage, but just going to go back there, use the teleport effectively, and it's like what we see with Sion a lot of the time. He's just going to have a level advantage early, but not a CS advantage.
That's right. It's basically what you see with Sion, and it's not going to put you too far ahead. Knowing the Nidalee's going to be aware of this happening. She's going to be able to get a few last hits, and it'll put you fairly close to the same.
And Luch just trying to poke ahead to Katie, really just pull her out of this early side because it's going to be a rush to 6 in the middle.
Yeah, 6 is when they start to do a lot more damage in mid lane. They're a lot more relevant at killing each other, and the jungle threat is going to be a lot higher. This early in the game, you can tell they're mostly going to want to farm and just get maybe some poke off if they can, but it's pretty hard between those two.
Yeah, no real gold advantage to start off there. All farm pretty equal with Nidalee. Of course, having an extra couple of farm because of the Raptor start for Lush there, but still quite equal at this stage.
Yeah, and Raptors does give a fair amount of gold for the big one in particular.
As the death sentence comes in on Moon, and a flash is forced off early, but Yggdrasil, he doesn't want to die either, and Zeratul taking 1 for 1 there as the ADC gets a kill, and Thresh and Zeratul, now they're going at each other, and Patu may have bitten off a bit more than he can chew, but he's going to walk away.
Yeah, an amazing death sentence to start the fight off. You can tell that Zeratul knew what he was doing though, and he wanted to make a trade out of that, and that's exactly what he did.
And Padu really, that was a really nice death sentence there, and I think we saw an exposure that maybe shouldn't have happened.
Well, having a Morgana, I'm not entirely sure if she has the spell shield available right now, but you would assume she did, and that it was maybe used earlier, so it was a secondary hook to bait that, and there was no shield to use.
That's definitely going to hype up the pressure down bottom lane now that Lucian does have a first kill, and Graves with the assist, so a double Doran's coming out from Yggdrasil in the bottom lane, and Zeratul getting the pickaxe.
Yeah, the double Dorans is more of a defensive decision. You're going to recognize that you're behind, and there's not much that you can do now. You need to just try and stay in that lane and sustain. Getting the second Dorans will allow you to do that, whereas going for the pickaxe, as you see Zeratul doing, is going to get him more kill pressure in that lane. That's what he's going to try to do.
And so we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on that bottom lane then, as trade-offs might become a bit more frequent. And we look at that top lane as well. With Nidalee and Maokai, a lot of trading off going and a lot of pushing in each other's favours.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pushing going on and a lot of poke trying to come out here as much as possible from both of them. But they both have heals, so it's going to be extremely hard for one to push the other out of lane.
Yeah, at least it's not going to be a tank, first tank top as we've been seeing with these huge Sion picks. And it's great to see Sion back somewhere where, you know, he might belong there.
Yeah, that's right. And there's not going to be as many tanks on Best Players Ocean right now. You see they've got the Rek'Sai. He's going to have to build tank, otherwise they won't have one. And that's a really scary situation to be in if you were Best Players Ocean.
So as Jakey comes in here, making a bit of an appearance on Katie, but not going to make the tunnel and not going to make it stick just yet.
No, there's also a lot of trading going out in the top lane right now. I feel like Maokai is going to start coming out ahead if this continues in that direction.
And Chippy's pouncing straight on that, but the damage is a bit too much for him. Trading off, not in Chippy's favour at the moment.
No, it's very hard to continuously do that. Maokai, being a tank, still does a lot of damage this early in the game. And you can tell once he starts getting items, if he's ahead, a Rod of Ages, it's trying to prolong the amount of damage that the Maokai can do. As Jakey might try something
and
cute
Jakey has tunneled behind Dragon, looking for an opportunity to maybe get an in-lane gank, but no, he goes straight back to the Krugs. There's another death sentence hits Moon, but they're not going to engage on that.
Yeah, not too much kill pressure with the death sentence coming out. They've recognized Lucian is the one that's ahead.
And Luce up top as well. Chippy's, he's taken a lot of damage.
He's starting to run out of mana now as well. It's going to put him in a really bad situation if he does. But he has the Doran's Ring. He should be okay in that lane for now.
And Jakey making a lot of an appearance down the bottom lane. He's looking for an opportunity, but the red side, Rebellion, they're not going to come that far out.
Yeah, you can tell the Best Players Ocean have told him that the river is watered. That's why he's gone over the Dragon area. But there's no real kill pressure. He'd need to get another tunnel over the wall at bottom for anything to occur. And
those death sentences keep coming out from Patu. He really wants an opportunity before Morgana gets those shackles at 6 and possibly the flash shackle with the stun there going to come out.
Yeah, you feel as though Thresh does want to try and make an advantage in the bot lane, but given the item difference right now, it's not that easy to do until they buy again.
And I'm surprised Zeratul isn't actually trading off more with Yggdrasil, as the pickaxe gives him a bit more damage that early stage.
Yeah, I suppose you could wonder why he's not doing too much trading, given that he is ahead in items, but he's also controlling the lane quite well in that regards. Look how much CS he is ahead right now. It's about 15 CS.
And the Dark Bindings aren't landing at the moment for Moon, but we'll still see it engage soon, surely, especially with the supports looking for so much potential there.
I feel as though you think they may do that, the Lucian might just be content with keeping that CS lead. The pressure, if it continues to build up like this, and the CS lead continues to build up, it becomes a really big deal.
And the Dark Bindings once again hitting a minion as Katie looks for some potential down bottom lane, but it is farmed as we see Sion making an appearance, but not enough damage or enough CC at the time being to contest.
Yeah, Zeratul actually getting hooked there by the death sentence. Morgana shielding himself, and Sion was there. So Lucian having to blow the flash could be a sign that Sion should come back to this lane to gank, or that they have kill pressure.
And with Best Players Ocean already having a bit of a gold lead to start off, we're looking at something nice as Lush now gets engaged upon. Chippy's getting the hunted, but Jakey's there with the unburrow and getting Chippy's the first kill.
Yeah, that was a really good gank by Jakey, forcing Maokai into an interesting position, but also giving the kill away.
Yeah, and as Blue Buff surviving by 1 HP there, just giving a bit of annoyance to Katie as the Rebellions, they do pick up their first dragon, hopefully.
Hopefully, that's right. They may try and contest this. They may just try and do some damage and poke them off it. But we can recognize they are now, in fact.
But a nice ult from Jakey, which contests that. And now the culling comes out from Lucian, which pushes back. And BPOJ, he gets Patu there. And now Katie's in the back line, which really needs to struggle as Chippy looks for some opportunities on Luce. But he's too tanky in this early stages. Chippy now re-engages with the flash. But he's in the middle of Luce as well. But it's now a 3v1 against Luce. So he's in a bit of trouble as the Umburrow looks to hit. But it doesn't. But a nice spear from Chippy's, which snipes at Luce.
Chippies has been hitting so many spears in that fight, and that was really big in towards them winning that fight. Jakey came over the wall from a pre-placed turret, I believe. He might have had to redo it. Came over, got a kill for it. The dragon pressure was gone. Orianna hit a great ultimate, and that fight just went really well for Best Players Ocean.
And I was so wrong about Rebellion controlling that dragon, as that ult from Jakey pretty much turned the control.
Well, they knew that they could fight. Best Players Ocean looked at that dragon and they thought, we can definitely contest this. The Maokai having the teleport would have definitely helped that, and he did teleport in. A Sion being very cheeky.
The flash coming in here, and the unstoppable onslaught. He wants Luch, and Luch, he is gone from Katie.
Yeah, smart gank from Sybil. Saving the ultimate, not engaging with the ultimate because then it can be dodged. Waiting for a situation where Luch got too close to the bush, being able to hit the roar, slow him down enough for the knock-up. I'm guessing there was no flash available because it's still got a quarter of the cooldown missing now. So very smart play, recognizing that the spells were gone and utilizing that to get a free kill.
And that's going to shorten that 2k gold lead, which has started to develop. We're now at 1,800 gold as Sybil gets caught out again. And the spear from Chippy's hits, giving the hunted. But the Sion passive is coming up, pushing him out. Is he going to die this time as the death sentence hits? But Patu wants his kill with a nice play there, CCing Chippy. But he may live to regret this as Jakey takes out Patu. And now Luce wants in on the fight as Jakey's still going around. But the double kill from Katie gives him a bit of encouragement as Moon's still in that middle lane. Not enough MP to really contest that at the stage.
That was a fantastic initiation from Thresh. The way that he did that, as we said, the spell shield comes out as they're going in again.
And the shockwave CCs both of them. And Katie gets taken out by attack by Orianna. The shutdown gold bonus is going to do her wonders.
This game is becoming really back and forth right now. The trades have never been in a full 5-on-5 situation. It's players taking advantage of a numbers power play, basically. And then they're reacting, and there's going to be a trade coming out of it from the other team in response. And it's very back and forth.
And I love how Chippy's just sitting in that back, waiting for an opportunity. And although he's being very aggressive and a bit too, daredevilish at this stage, he's still taking full advantage of it.
And that's the way that a Nidalee tends to play. You kind of sit back, hit a spear, and then you go way too far in. And that's Nidalee in a nutshell.
That spear is a bit of a double-edged sword sometimes, as we like to see. As we look at Luch, who's just going to pick up a blue buff, which is going to get some nice cooldown reduction for him.
Yeah, thankfully he's getting that blue buff right now. He's got the tier option after the chalice. Instead of finishing a first item like you would normally see on an Orianna, opting for the tier, looking to scale much more into the late game to do a lot more damage when he finishes that into a full item.
And looking at this bottom lane matchup again, Yggdrasil is 20 CS behind, as we see a red turret going down. A bit more of a gold lead for the blue side, picking up the first turret. But looking at that bottom lane, we see the BF sword coming out from Yggdrasil.
Yeah, so the interesting thing to note, I guess, is there's 20 CS lead right now, but that may close because there is a BF sword coming out on Graves compared to just the pickaxe on Zeratul. So he opted for the early game to pick that pickaxe as a nice blind hit there.
What a nice binding it was through the wall. Getting Graves a bit, getting Yggdrasil a bit, unsurprising there.
Yeah, and Morgana has been hitting a lot of these binds, and it's definitely scary to recognize that he can do that so successfully. If you hit a lot of binds, you start to get really confident about doing the future ones, especially in team fights.
And I was talking about farm lead before, but look at Oriana in the middle. Look at Luch. He's gained such a lead there.
Yeah, he's actually gained quite a substantial lead given the fact that there wasn't a whole lot of pressure in mid lane. Most of it, I believe, was one-on-one fighting and just the ability to CS. And he's CSing very well, 120 at 12 minutes.
Yeah, but Katie, of course, having 3 kills on that as well. As we see the culling come out just to clear the wave, and a lot of pressure coming down from the bottom as the Dark Binding does hit again, but they're not going to engage this time.
No, the binds are hitting, but there isn't too much pressure. As I said, he's got a BF sword compared to the pickaxe. They have a lot more kill pressure on Rebellion right now, and even though all these binds are hitting, it's not going to do a whole lot for them winning the lane. It's only going to push them back a little bit or allow Best Players Ocean to push the bot lane successfully so they can recall.
And that might change right now as we see Lucian has picked up the Infinity Edge. Zeratul looking for that damage spike, and he's got it with that extra crit.
He definitely has a spike right now. He was saving up a lot of money for that, in excess of 2,500 gold. He just bought an entire Infinity Edge off of a pickaxe.
Guess he was saving for that one. And Katie picking up blue buff as well as Rebellion playing a bit passive in this early game stage.
Yeah, and the blue buff timings are completely different right now, and that's going to show how the mid lane tends to play differently. When you get the blue buff, you tend to play a little bit more aggressively, use more spells naturally because the cooldown reduction and mana regen is there. But it also dictates who's generally controlling the lane, who can push the lane freely. If they're not at the same time, then it usually goes back and forth.
And I guess when we see so much lane control coming out of Best Players Ocean, especially with Chippies in such a strong top lane, you got to think that maybe Rebellion need to group a bit more or need to sort out a plan of attack.
You definitely feel like they need to sort out a plan of attack. The gold lead is growing almost exclusively from laning phase right now. And there is a dragon up in 1 minute, granted. That's probably the next plan of attack for them. They do need the first dragon. It's very important that they get, and try not to let Best Players Ocean get carried away on the dragons, because that will become a win condition for Best Players Ocean if they're allowed to get too many.
And Sybil's poking his head down towards that dragon. They're going to try and get a bit more vision control as Best Players Ocean set up for that as well. Not too much wards or pink wards down by that dragon pit, with Best Players Ocean having 1 pink ward up there.
Yeah, if they actually secure the vision control here on Best Players Ocean, I don't feel like Rebellion want to contest this. Look at the difference right now in items between the Lucian and the Graves as a hook comes out.
And what a nice hook, getting Chippies out, who's a bit too far in the enemy side of the jungle, as he has to flash around. The heal does save him, but does the Ignite tick? No, it doesn't. And Moon only just surviving as well. Look at him go.
That is insane that Ari managed to live that right there. Nidalee rather managed to live that right there. No health, and it wasn't the Ignite that was going to kill. It was actually Morello's. Very scary situation to be in.
And with that needlessly large rod, that heal doing so much more work there. So let's say if he didn't get the needlessly large rod, he wouldn't have survived that.
That's definitely right. He would have died if he did not have the needlessly large rod, maybe opted for Sork shoes even. So very lucky that he did have that when he did.
Well, good on Chibbies for maybe thinking ahead or however he's thinking. But the pressure around Dragon is growing as we see Patu, who's going to have to escape and put a couple of wards down to see the pressure there.
And the fact that Rebellion has another great hook comes out.
Oh, the death sentence on Chippies again. He didn't learn the first time as we see the ult coming from Jakey in. He unburrows there, but he has to flash away, as well as Zeratul getting a nice culling straight onto Maokai.
Yeah, you said it right, mate. He didn't learn from the first time. Chippy's getting caught again from another death sentence. They just have control of that area, and BPO need to respect that fact and not get caught. In saying that, it was only a 1-for-1 trade.
That's a nice little steal coming from Moon for the Scuttlebug. More pressure around there. And of course, the Dragon's still 1-for-0. No one getting it just yet.
Yeah, it's funny the first time that they caught Chippies and they knew he had to recall, they didn't try and take the Dragon. They kind of just let it be. You can see Best Players Ocean have got control of the pit again, and they may actually just start it and try and do this.
Let's see if Lucian makes appearance again, as that last culling really made a difference in the battle. As we see Ari popping her head into the door of Dragon Pit, and Rebellion now pushing them off. and they might actually steal this dragon from under their nose unless Jakey can get a nice unburrow there. But the red team get the dragon. That's going to be their first one. The Dark Binding only just missing because of range.
Yeah, I don't think Best Players Ocean actually recognized that they were close enough and able to fight. Graves was bottom, Graves was split. Lucian was the one that was not there, but he was also bottom with Graves. So they were looking at a 4v4. I guess they didn't really have the ultimates on Zeratul and Orianna to really turn that fight around. So they made the on-the-fly decision, we'll try to steal it, but we won't fight this right now until we have our ultimates available.
Yeah, but they're still going to siege this mid turret as a Dark Binding hits Katie, CCing him down for a bit, but not too much pressure on the mid turret.
The spear coming out, though, after that binding. Oh, that hurts.
That was such a huge tool in that battle. Although they didn't get the kill, you got to imagine if that spear landed at full range, maybe half health at this stage.
Well, Morgana in Italy is one of the most underrated and underused combos that we haven't seen for quite a while. If you can get out a binding, it guarantees that a spear is going to hit. Combo that with a Prey Seeker, and you've got the Light Slinger, you've got everything from Lucian. Comes down to hitting a Morgana bind. That person is most likely going to die.
And, of course, looking at Luch, who also is a bit of a nice team comp to their side with Chippies and Morgana, you've got to look at Luch, who's on the Orianna, 2 for 1 with 180 CS.
He is farming extremely well. He had 120 CS at 12 minutes. He's now got 180 CS at 18 minutes. He is keeping on point with that clock, and that is the dream amount. So it's really impressive to see that coming out.
When we see a team fight come out, you got to wonder if that CS is going to make him such a huge up-and-comer of this game.
Oh, it definitely will. And being Orianna, as they may try and come here for Ari, but I don't think they'll get him. If Orianna gets those 2 items, you can see finished 2 items already now. Definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. All he needs is maybe a death cap or a needlessly large rod item to really start scaling and ramping up that damage.
Yeah, and Jakey harassing a lot as well against Katie. The Dark Bindings are coming out left, right, and center. Not always hitting, but when they do, they're making great initiation
That's
tools.
Right. And we've seen Moon hit a lot of Dark Bindings, so he is overconfident that in his ability to do that, and that is a big deal as a Morgana. If you are confident that you're going to hit the binds, you'll actually probably hit more.
Yeah, lands a lot of warding in this bottom dragon pit. Looking for the next one, which won't be up for another 4 or 5 minutes, but control of the vision here might be crucial to the next one.
And Rebellion are aware that that ward was placed there. You can see the pink ward. They're going to try and fight for this.
Oh, and the unstoppable onslaught hits a wall. A bit of a mistake from Simon, but that doesn't matter because he's still in the fight at the back. Jakey's in that middle with the shockwave combined, but Yggdrasil takes out Jakey before he can take the damage. And here comes the lantern from Luch. But they've already disengaged.
Yeah, Rek'Sai actually caught a bit out of position there, took a lot of damage from the Graves. Had to try and work his way around into the area where the rest of Rebellion were, and he got punished for that.
Yeah, and look, Jakey, he wasn't really in that fight. He got taken out. He turned into Ash, man.
Yeah, he wasn't really in the fight, but Sion didn't even hit the ultimate. He actually ran into the wall with that one, and it still worked out well for them. So their team has a lot to offer, even if one thing does not go to plan.
Yeah, with so much to offer, you've got to imagine how they're going to scale late as Chippies now is playing very cheeky, like we've said earlier, against Sybil. He doesn't care that Sybil's there. He's just going to keep auto-attacking the turret and maybe go back again later.
Yeah, he's just going to keep throwing the spears out. He's got the ability to heal himself if the Scion tries to stop him, and he can just auto-attack the turrets pretty much freely. There's nothing to stop him when it's just the Scion. There's no real kill pressure there at all.
And of course, the gold lead already stacked up to about 4K in Best Players Ocean's way there, and 1 dragon all, and they've got 1 turret. So a bit more map pressure, a bit more gold, which is going to really succeed them in this mid game.
Yeah, so the gold lead right now is coming down to the difference in farm. You have a look at that mid lane right now. You can see the farm is is about 60 CS, and that's just raw farming ability. That's got nothing to do with any kind of rotational play. Pure CS skills, and this Orianna, Luch, is on point.
Luch is so on point, already having that Archangel staff and the Athene's Unholy Grail, which is going to give them some cooldown reduction. So here comes the mid turret. Not going to get it this time, but a lot of pressure all around the map, especially against turrets.
Well, this is Best Players Ocean trying to utilize their team comp right now. They've recognized they need to group, as Lucian might even try and fight this.
As we say this, Yggdrasil, he wants his own solo turret, but not going to get it this time, as Zeratul pushes him off with a culling.
Yeah, Thresh coming in to save the day as well. I get a feeling that Zeratul wanted that fight really badly until a lantern came out.
Yeah, and Sybil, of course, pushing off the enemy team really well. Just like Jakey, both junglers playing an awesome part. And here comes the unstoppable onslaught as Jakey only just missing it. And now Padu's getting bursted down from this battle. Doesn't matter though, Yggdrasil's on Chippies like that with a 4-man shockwave. Sybil getting another kill, though. And Luch trying to escape this, trying to do damage on the run, but Moon getting taken out now. Only 2 members left as we see Lucian coming in that back line. And now Luch is trying to harass the other Luch. And Zeratol, he's come from this backside. He wants a kill. Maybe not going the right way, but changes his direction as the flash comes out from Luch. And the chase is still on. We might see a relentless pursuit. There it is. Not enough vision in the brush, though, to get Luch. But is the Lucian going to get in with a turret damage? And it looks like only just surviving. Come on, Luch. He's only just surviving this one. And Zeratol wants his kill so bad. He wants it so bad, and he finally gets it. What a chase.
He did so well to live as long as he did. And that team fight was really, really well done by Rebellion. It's a shame that that was how we had to end that fight. You could see that they caught out Jakey again. Nidalee hit a spear, thought she was going to get a kill from it. Not to happen. Maokai played a big part in that, and he lived for another 30-odd seconds after that. Dragon up in 5 seconds, though.
Yeah, I can't believe that went for so long there, especially with Maokai being so tanky. And Lucian wasn't in the start of that fight. Zeratol, he wasn't in the start of the fight. So he came in the back, and I guess he did eventually turn it around, but at what cost?
Yeah, that's right. He didn't make it to the fight at the very start. Jakey did get caught going for a pink ward, as they look to be able to get that dragon.
And the death sentence doesn't land, especially with the black shield anyway. But second dragon for the blue side, and best players Ocean going to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and you know, after all of that, they're still sitting pretty best players Ocean. They've got a 3k gold lead. They've got the second dragon and a turret lead. Rebellion are making good trades, though. They're catching people out of position. They're pushing advantages where they know they have the numbers game. This Thresh is doing a lot of work.
Yeah, and he's landing a lot of his death sentences as they look for a bit of an engagement. The shockwave comes out on Patu, and a singular kill for BPO Moon, who's now got himself his first kill.
Your best players Ocean have just said, you know what, it's our time to make a pick, and they have done just that, as the Nidalee hitting spears here might continue to chase.
And Chippies doesn't care that that Sybil is tanky. He just wants to go in as Moon, hitting the Scuttle Crab with a Dark Binding, but it doesn't matter as the flash has to get forced out, and now Caddy playing his luck with Moon, but the trade-offs are just going to continue, and it's just going to be one for now.
Yeah, the Charm getting spell shooted there prevented a lot of kill pressure from the Ahri. She's just going to back off. They'll get blue for the Orianna right now. He's not going to be too far away from that death cap, I would imagine. He's got the Newsy Large Rod now. The important part of it is out of the way.
Yeah, and look, I'm getting really excited for these team fights because they're going up and end, if you know what I mean. They don't really have a direction at this stage.
Yeah, there's no one team significantly coming out ahead in these fights, and it's going both ways. Even if BPO get caught, they're making a trade, and even if Rebellion get engaged on and it's really bad, they're still getting kills like this.
Caddy wants a singular kill on Luch while no one else is around, but the damage from Orianna half heals him. You can imagine if he got that, that would have been huge.
Well, Orianna not having the ultimate available was a big factor in why Ahri went in there. The ability to hit that charm coming out of an unknown area, it's not very easy to react to. And you can see, once the charm hit, Katie was confident.
Yeah, and Chippy's just going to poke his head in against Ahri as well, who Katie might be playing a bit too aggressive at this stage, but still the engage there against Orianna was really good.
It's also worth noting that Luch doesn't actually have boots right now. He's opted for double Dorans and he's getting wards. He's probably going to rush a Needlessly Large Rod now that he has a Death Cap now that he has the Large Rod. And he may even not have boots up until the 30-minute mark in this game.
And Sybil getting caught by a Dark Binding under turret, but he's getting so tanky at this stage, it doesn't really matter.
Fight in the bottom there, actually. Lucian getting caught by a 1v2 situation. It's very unfortunate for him. Thought he could fight the Graves there, so bad luck.
Yeah, Yggdrasil doing a lot of damage by this stage. The Infinity Edge and Zeal stacking up quite nicely as he's picked his third kill up and getting another turret for the blue side.
I'm excited,
Jake.
Jake. I'm very excited.
Why
Have a
is
look
this?
at the Nidalee's items.
Oh, no.
She's picked up the Luden's Echo, and this is amazing because you hit a spear as Nidalee, you've got the Luden's Echo bouncing to 4 targets around who the spear hits.
You've got me. Look at the smile on my face. You can't really, but the Luden's Echo getting picked up by Chippies, that's a great pick in my opinion.
That was something I didn't think about. The fact that the spear, it cuts so deep into the enemy team that if you hit it, it's most likely going to be around other champions. The utility behind that, you can throw out spears all the time. Nidalee in Cougar form, jumping around, it's going to stack very quickly. Really smart pickup.
And with his aggressive play, you can't help to think that it's going to be so well utilized. Luch might have to watch his step.
Yeah, it's going to be very well utilized, no doubt, on Chippies. And Luch, he's going to be all right. He's a Maokai.
He is tanky, but at this stage, we might see Nidalee maybe outplaying it a bit. And I talk about that top lane matchup where is he getting tanky enough in relation to Chippy's there?
Well, he's not exceptionally tanky at the moment. He did opt for the Rod of Ages. That gives him the ability power and only really provides health in terms of effective statistics for defense. But he's got the armor boots and he's got the Spectre's Cowl. He's going to be all right.
And he's already scaling quite nicely with that Rod of Ages, which has almost reached full stacks, I think. But he, as his first item, a really nice pick there.
Yeah, he is at full stacks at the moment, I believe. So he's had that for quite a while. And that's going to be really big in terms of a Maokai's damage output. You won't get many more items after that, so he's going to be doing a lot with it fully stacked right now. It'll start to drop off into the later stages of the game, but they've got the Nidalee, they've got the Orianna and the Lucian to make up for that.
And they've got such great farm in comparison to Rebellion, who are falling back a little bit, and 10 CS advantage for Nidalee there. 10, sorry, maybe 60, which is a huge amount for Luch against Katie. And, of course, Zeratol against Yggdrasil. There's another 20 or so there.
Yeah, but I guess you could, if there's any solace to take from that CS lead, is that it hasn't grown in the past 5 to 10 minutes.
No,
it's stayed at 60.
It's been very consistent throughout this game. That's exactly right. As the gold lead has shortened a bit, Rebellion is kind of coming back from this 4K gold lead that we had before.
Yes, but if you were BPO right now, you're banking on the fact that Orianna currently has 1670 gold. She's 30 gold off the finished death cap. Once she gets that, their kill potential in a team fight skyrockets. That's her third item, and it's going to be a death cap. Her ability power will go through the roof.
We might see this interplay as Rebellion looks for a bit of a sneaky ambush as they were before. But remember, this is what got Patu caught out and bursted down.
If you were Rebellion right now, you'd be looking at your power play right now. You want to fight. You want to take advantage of the fact that you've got the 10 stacks on the Maokai Rod of Ages, that you've got a death cap coming through, and a finished Infinity Edge and Static Shiv on the Graves. You're massive. Now, BPO are very close to massive, dragging up in 20 seconds. They've just got that death cap out now in Orianna. That may impact the fight a lot more.
And they're repositioning for that, but Luch not able to keep up as the red side Rebellion, they look to pull off, but BPO Moon, sorry, he's looking for another Dark Binding.
I think they might try to fight this, but you can see Rebellion are going to trade instead. They've just put everything towards getting that mid turret opposed to taking the dragon.
And this is really going to backfire them as Rebellion are going to get a free turret with no one from Best Players Ocean to contest this, and they might be looking at another one.
Extremely smart decision here from Rebellion to do what they're doing right now. They recognize that Best Players Ocean, they were going for the dragon, they had control of that area, but they had nothing mid and there were minions to push, and they're going to get a free inhibitor.
That inhibitor has just gone down. That's 2 turrets as we've now seen engage from Rebellion, but Chippy's, he's getting a bit of damage done out as Luch takes out Padu in a quick step like that. And now Chippy's is running up with Zeratol, who are both doing so much damage. A nice flash from Moon, who only just misses that Dark Binding, but it doesn't matter because Chippy's, he lands a spear. He's still looking for Sybil, just missing that spear, or maybe not against Katie, who does take another spear there, going to half health, and Best Players Ocean getting the best out of that situation.
And that was exactly the fight that Best Players Ocean wanted. They wanted the Rek'Sai to flash initiate, knocks them all up. They cannot get out of the Orianna ultimate there. The shockwave hit so many people, did ridiculous amounts of damage. What you can take from that, though, if you're Rebellion, is they did get an inhibitor.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 turrets along with that. You've got to look at the gold lead now, which is still at that 2.5k, but only because, you know, Best Players Ocean are looking for this next turret, which will give them a bit of a gold lead once again, and maybe it all wasn't for nothing.
It wasn't all for nothing, definitely. That's right. They're going to get that bottom tower. They're going to try and look to recall and maybe push an advantage now, but it's going to be a lot harder now that there are the super minions coming down that middle lane.
Yeah, and the 50k gold lead there as well. You can't help but think that maybe it's because of all this early game pressure as we see that big minion who, he's coming down the game a bit early there.
Yeah, and that gold lead's actually still mostly attributed to the CS. It's 4 to 5 in turrets, so Rebellion have caught up a lot in that turret game. They've evened it out a lot more. You can see it's now 4 to 5. That's not even a big deal anymore. 3 to 1 in dragons, though. That's a win condition for Best Players Ocean. If they can secure that 5th dragon, inhibitor turrets, none of that matters anymore because their damage is ridiculous.
But for the time being, was it worth it?
The inhibitor being down, it's very hard to say if it was worth it or not until we see what Rebellion do with that advantage. Now, there is a gold lead in favor of Best Players Ocean, but there is map advantage, I suppose, in advantage of Rebellion. So we'll see how they translate that into something as they're looking to push mid now. they might push it and then go somewhere else.
Yeah, best players Ocean getting pushed hard. This is a different game to what we were seeing in the early stages as we move to the mid game, and a lot of pressure around that Baron, whether to bait it or whether to start it for themselves. We're just going to have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah, they're probably going to hang around. There's no dragon to do. There's no reason for them to be bottom. You'll see best players Ocean looking to hit the binding spear combo again. They want to chunk down an important target before they start a team fight. Otherwise, they need to do another one of the initiations with Rek'Sai, who does not have flash available, and that gets rid of a lot of their engage.
And especially when Rebellion, they're grouping the majority of the time, not at the moment, but with the majority of the time grouping, we see people like Chippies not being as uniquely available and not as much pressure as he could have.
Yeah, well, the smart decision here from Rebellion is now to put the Maokai top lane. They know that top was the way to go. They've got Nidalee, who has to almost stay top now because they both are the ones who teleport. If you take Chippies out of the equation, you have a 4v4 siege. That's going to hurt best players Ocean a lot.
And I'm looking forward to seeing Katie maybe pull another engage, as the assassination is... It's huge. It's so scary for best players Ocean.
Yeah, and given that it will become a 4v4 if Nidalee chooses to go back top, Maokai pressuring that now, Katie has a lot higher chance of actually making a pick. You can play a bit more aggressively. You can position yourself like, I am a little bit safer than I would be if there was a spear coming out, and it might make a charm hit that normally wouldn't be there.
Yeah, and Rebellion focusing all their efforts on the bottom side of the map, as we still see Chippies from best players Ocean. He's focusing top, and he landed a spear on Luch, which is still doing a reasonable amount of damage, but not enough to make a difference.
No, it's never going to push Luce out of lane. The Nidalee's spears aren't necessarily going to be able to kill tanks. Going for that Luden's Echo, you're still looking for bouncing damage as well. So you're hoping to hit priority targets. You're not going to do too much damage. Picked up a Zonia's, no death cap, no void stuff yet. So going for raw damage, hoping they don't build resistances. The thing is, they have lots of magic resistance.
Yeah, so maybe going to be a bit irrelevant in that late game. But, of course, another thing to keep an eye on is we look at Sybil, who is taking no damage from anyone really at all.
Yeah, Rebellion have an extremely big front line. They've got the Scion and the Maokai, who are just never going to take damage. You look at the front line of best players Ocean, it's waning a bit. It's not really there. You really need that Rek'Sai to start scaling with resistances. He's working on, I believe, a Thornmail now after the Randuin's. Once he gets that, it'll be a lot harder to kill him. But until then, they can kind of just ignore him.
Yeah, and was Thornmail the right choice? I mean, Graves is doing, a Yeek Drizzle is doing so much damage, but you've got to look at Katie, who, with the Ahri, is doing more damage more so than Graves.
Yeah, you know what? I'm hoping that he doesn't actually build the Thornmail. There's only the Graves really to get it for. So I definitely think that he should be putting one of those items, maybe a Sunfire out of the Chain Vest, or he can build something that just, he needs health. He needs a Banshee's Veil very soon.
And once again, there's a blue inhibitor respawning, which might take a bit of the pressure off of best players Ocean, as they hope to defend for a little bit longer and maybe turn the game in their favor.
Yeah, Rebellion are playing a game of patience right now. You can see they're not actually moving at all. They're looking to control the jungle, try and make a pick with the death sentence, even the Scion knock-up if God forbid someone gets that close to them, and it will hurt them then.
The ult coming out from Rek'Sai, getting him into position again in that bottom lane, and Rebellion, they know when to back off, and especially with Dragon coming up in about 12 seconds now, now's the time, but they look for a bit of an ambush as Jakey might have to be a bit careful, but there's the charm onto Jakey, and he's been caught out, but Lush, as I say that, is taking the brunt of the damage as the jungle seems to be working, but now Sybil, a lot of CC there with the unstoppable onslaught. He's caught Zeratul, and the shockwave doesn't hit anyone, but Zeratul makes sure he gets hurt, and Katie rushing after Chippies. The flash comes out, but the Orb of Deception doesn't connect, unfortunately. And now it looks like best players Ocean might be in a bit of a pickle, as Luch could be a bit out of position, as now Rebellion collapse and he gets slaughtered.
And that was so smart by Rebellion. They recognized that there's the sonar vision from the Rek'Sai. They stood perfectly still. They had Katie in the front line to hit that charm first to initiate it, follow it with a death sentence, and then bye-bye Rek'Sai.
Yeah, bye-bye Rek'Sai. He turned into dust very quickly, and once again saying the work of Katie is maybe even carrying this game for Rebellion.
You could definitely say that. He's doing a lot of work. He's hitting all of the important charms. I just feel like, based off team comps alone right now, best players Ocean are not going to be doing a whole lot. They needed to maybe not even get that Luden's Echo and prioritize a Void Staff, because look at the magic resistance they've got right now in Rebellion. There's a Spirit Visage, They've got a Spectre's Cal and a Righteous Glory for extra health. They're not going to die. Even a QSS.
And the wrong build path could actually sabotage this game for Best Players Ocean, as a sneaky Dragon does come out. No vision around that Baron pit to see it at all. So Rebellion may just get this taken under their nose.
Yes, this is definitely going to be taken under their noses. They had all recall. I think it was a smart decision to actually do the Baron. Them securing that reduces a lot of the pressure that Rebellion can put on lanes. The only real lane that they'd want to take right now is mid because it's an open inhibitor. But they still need to push out their own sides first. They need to make sure everything's going in their favor. Having the Baron will prevent that a lot more. It'll make the minions stronger and start to push naturally if you're just around them.
And that was such good capitalizing on that open Baron. Knowing it's not warded, a lot of sweepers coming through from Best Players Ocean. We've got the Scrying Orb there. We've got the 3 upgraded trinkets for the lenses. And, of course, from Chippy, he's got the trinket.
Yes, he's upgraded the trinket. Most top laners now upgrading that to get extra ward coverage. That coupled with a Sight Stone, that's all the wards you need. So you'll start to see junglers not opting towards that Sight Stone as much anymore. But BPO have 2 Sight Stones and that ward upgrade. That is so much vision control on the map.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because they weren't using that to its full potential. As we see Rebellion on the minimap. Thresh, he had a look at Baron. He knows it's gone, and they might be a bit scared now.
I don't know how scared they'll be. I think they recognize that they can still fight. Even though the gold is still in favor of Best Players Ocean, I feel like the team comp is what's affecting them right now until they start getting their Armor Pen, Magic Pen items.
And we've said this all game that the gold lead hasn't really changed between the 5 to 6k to maybe the 1k as Sybil. He looks like he's going to push off Chippies, but not this time, as Patu looks for a death sentence, but nothing too much at the time being. It's really a trade-off of whoever can make the best engage, and the Dark Binding hitting that Scion as he rides the Lantern.
Yeah, there's not a lot of kill pressure on Scion or the Maokai, and they're just going to stand in the front line. This is what Best Players Ocean want to do right now. They want to utilize their comp. They want to siege. They have that cannon minion to try and at least push down the tower while they've got the Baron buff. Try and hit a binding like that. Follow it with a spear. Get the Lucian culling. Everything goes in their way, but look how much damage it does not even do to Sybil.
Sybil is so tanky. That culling, that was about 40 shots of nothingness to him.
Yeah, he's got Righteous Glory and Spirit Visage, and most of the damage they're doing is magic. So, as I said, you know, they really need that Void Staff on Italy, and it is hurting them until he gets that.
And this Baron buff has given them so much pushing power back in Best Players Ocean's favor. So we're now actually probably going to see a reasonable team fight if Rebellion do look for the engage, which they just missed that with the death sentence. But Lucius had enough of waiting, and he goes on Chippies, who's under the turret. He gets stunned, but it's not enough as Best Players Ocean pick up a turret, forcing Rebellion to pull back.
Yeah, they never overcommitted when they went to fight right there. They kind of said, as they might actually be overcommitting now.
Oh, Patu, he's picked a pick on Jakey, but he has to flash out before Sybil can unstoppable onslaught that.
Yeah, making Jakey blow the flash is a big deal. It is their key initiation. Is Scion looking to ult here?
And Scion against Sybil. He's so tanky, but wow, the damage is taking as Katie takes out Rek'Sai before he can do anything. Jakey just get bursted down as Yggdrasil's taking a lot of damage in the backline. And now Chippies aims at Luke and he goes straight down. As Zeratul, he's taking out Sybil on this side. He doesn't care. No one's forcing him to do anything. And Best Players Ocean might have turned this as a Dark Binding hits Patu. And he gets shredded under Zeratil's pressure. And this is going to be their first inhibitor turret as they take the inhibitor as well. That was a nice trade.
That team fight went extremely well for Best Players Ocean. They had the fight initiated from a Scion. They managed to capitalize on that and do so much damage to him that he had to run away. Orianna actually hit an ult.
Oh, Zeratul against Katie. Where did his health go? Katie just went down as Zeratul wants to trade again off Yggdrasil, forcing him back into the Nexus. He doesn't care. He's kiting around there. What a good shutdown, as Sybil is now the last member alive for Rebellion until another 7 seconds. There goes the first Nexus turret right under their noses. Sybil can't do too much here unless he wants to pressure off. There's not a wave there, so it doesn't look like they'll be able to get this as Lush comes back up, and they want to re-engage this fight. Chippy's looking for the damage again, but they re-engage this as the shockwave comes out, and now Scion looking once again as Zeratul. He has to pull this back off, and Sybil still that tanky, but he does go down.
Yeah, Sybil right there was sacrificing himself to try and save the towers. He was getting in the way. Maokai coming in, saying you will not get this tower, but they're going to get a mid-inhibitor for this as well. That's 2 inhibitors down from a small mistake in decision-making.
And suddenly, Best Players Ocean are in so much control again. They've got this game turned back around.
Yeah, they've always had the gold lead, so it's always been working very well in their favor. Their farm is ridiculous, and that's what's been keeping them in this almost exclusively. The decision-making there in that last fight, That was amazing, and it worked so well. Orianna hit an ult on the Graves, and it was really close to hitting the Ahri as well.
And Rebellion have got to be sitting there thinking, what just happened? How did that happen? And you've got to put it all down to that last Baron, that Baron with no vision from Rebellion.
That's right, the Baron had a massive impact. It secured them that middle turret. It allowed them to rotate towards the bot turret. I believe they got the second one there as well. No, they did not. They pushed into the third one. They won a team fight from Sion initiating. They looked to push that into something, and it didn't work for them. It backfired. That was the Zeratul show.
Oh, that was such a great show at that. As the Dragon coming up again in 10 seconds. Rebellion looking for that third Dragon for the movement speed. Maybe give them a bit of opportunity if this does go later. We're moving into 41 minutes, so the Dragon might be a bit uncontested by Best Players Ocean.
And you know, we said at the start of the game, the team comps that aren't AoE are very hard to execute. But look at the way that Best Players Ocean are running this team comp. The Orianna doesn't have a wombo. It's just doing work by itself. The Nidalee poking, doing so much work if it hits the right target, and it did.
And they've got to decide, was that Dragon worth it? Because as of now, Best Players Ocean, they're going to go for the third and final inhibitor turret, which they might just get without too much effort coming from Katie, who's now taking a lot of damage from Chippies and that combination of Zeratul, who is kiting like a genius at the moment.
Yeah, look, Rebellion were the ones playing the Patience game before, but it's definitely Best Players Ocean that are pushing that now. They're the ones who can sit back. There's 2 inhibitors down. Rebellion are going to have to defend middle. And they're going to have to defend bottom eventually as well. And if they're both pushing it, it's a free top inhibitor.
And there's so much pressure coming out of Best Players Ocean, who are still looking for this turret, which they're pretty much going to easily get with Zeratul and his nice proc of the Trinity Force. Sorry, not the Trinity Force, with the Infinity Edge Blade Bloodthirster. As we get an engage from Sybil, who decides this is it. As Jakey now taking a lot of damage, but it doesn't matter as the backline loose goes straight on Chippies and Zeratul, but it's not enough as Chippies and Zeratul just piercing through those layers, and the flashes come out from many members as Moon gets out Maokai, and there goes Rek'Sai as well, a 1-for-1 trade, which might enable the inhibitor.
It'll definitely get them the third inhibitor. There's going to be so many more super minions pushing in now. They may even try to end the game. Look at the amount of minions that are now overwhelming Rebellion's base.
And Rebellion can't do much to defend this unless Sybil wants to push them off, and he's still very tanky, but with 4 members on him, and Katie as well, wow, the damage just goes from 500 to none, as there's Zeratul's other crit. The Sign passive is coming up, not going to be able to do much, as there goes the Nexus. What a fantastic turnaround from Best Players Ocean.
And it was definitely starting to look really bad for Best Players Ocean there. Rebellion turned around. They had some massively awesome team fights. They played the Patience game. They controlled vision. They did what they had to do, but it wasn't enough to win that game. Best Players Ocean, sneaky Baron, overtook it in the end.
That was absolutely awesome, and I believe we do also have a replay coming up as well, Zach?
Yeah, so we're looking at, towards the end, 39 minutes in, it's a team fight near the base of Rebellion as we roll the clip. You can see Sion's the one initiating the fight right now. He wanted to push that, but look how much damage that he actually takes right there. They managed to get Jakey for it, but Jakey's the tank and it doesn't matter. The Orianna ult, so much damage to Graves, pushes him away, and you can see all the carries from Best Players Ocean doing so much work in the backline, really pushing out the rest of Rebellion, getting them behind their turrets, and you can see the bind here coming out, securing the kill. From here, they're only going to start taking the base, end up with 2 inhibitors and a Nexus turret. Such a strong team fight from Best Players Ocean.
Yeah, definitely, and Zeratul in that, you got to say, his kiting ability mixed with his huge damage by that late game stage, it was massive, definitely. As we move to the next game of the OCS, make sure you join us when we see Rebellion play off Best Players Ocean once again. Welcome back to the OCS for day 2 after such a thrilling game. My name is Jake Hysterics, Aussie Panko, and of course with me always is Zach Rusty Pie. And Zach, that was amazing.
That was a very phenomenal game. Actually, it was so back and forth. You could swear that one team was about to win, and then there was just this turnaround that you didn't expect, and it just kept rebounding, and eventually a team won.
And I love how Best Players Ocean turned that around in the game against all odds after taking a bit of a sneaky Baron.
Yeah, it started to look like it wasn't going too well for them. They ended up getting that Baron, and that Baron buff did so much for them. They ended up pulling out ahead from almost exclusively having the Baron buff and forcing Rebellion to fight them.
And of course, Zeratol being a really key player for Best Players Ocean there, as his Lucian made us change the way we think about him in this definitive patch.
Yeah, Zeratol really came through towards the end of the game there, hitting that late game stage. So much work, so mobile, ridiculous amounts of damage. Even against a team with a Maokai and a Scion, he'd managed to shred it.
Yeah, and the Scion, he tried to unstoppable onslaught a couple of times, and there were some really good engages there, but it looks like Best Players Ocean may have just outplayed that with some more better choices there as we move into Champion Select now.
Yeah, they definitely did. And hey, Aurelia first ban, another targeted ban. They still do not want Chippies on that Aurelia. Even though he was a big threat on Sire, no Aurelia.
No, definitely not. As we see LeBlanc coming as the Best Players Ocean's first ban there, getting rid of LeBlanc, which is a bit of burst potential in the middle, and Hecarim going down once again.
Yeah, again, LeBlanc's such a strong champion, and they're taking it away from Katie. Katie is very proficient on that champion. He's used it a lot in solo queue games, and you don't want that to come back into competitive fights. It does too much.
No, and Corki getting banned there as well. Not any bans so far from the ADCs for last game, but Corki may be a bit of a speculative choice.
Well, they seem to be targeting their bans very specifically against Rebellion. They know what they want to play, or they think they know what they want to play, and they're getting rid of that before they can even use it.
And a good example of that is Victor as he goes down there, and Scion getting taken out after a very aggressive last game, which nearly lost it for Best Players Ocean.
Yeah, well, they've definitely appreciated the fact that the Scion was doing so much work in that game. They've actually first picked Rek'Sai away as well here on Rebellion. They did not want Best Players Ocean having that again.
No, and I mean, he was doing so much work there, especially since Jakey was more the aggressor than anyone else on his team, and he had to be because he was the only tank.
That's right, he was the only tank, and he was essentially the only engage as well, so he had to do a lot of work, and he pulled through. He did a ridiculous amount of work. Every time Flash was up, he used it well.
And since we're not going to see a Scion there, we'll see how it gets countered and what they can do to defuse him in the jungle before it's too late. And we see Best Players Ocean pulling out the Graves and Morgana, which was a nice combination last game.
They've responded. They're saying they want Graves and Morgana, and they love those champions, it seems. Very good, flexible bot lane. Morgana, we still don't know if it's bot. It's really hard to say it is, even though we've mostly seen it in support at the moment in the OCS. Could still go top or mid, but with a Graves, it's such a strong bot lane.
Such a strong bot lane there. Is the time's ticking down for Rebellion to maybe counter that, and they don't have a Corki up, which wasn't available last game. Well, wasn't picked last game, but maybe we'll see a Lucian in turn.
Well, having banned the Corki, picking the Graves, it kind of limits what they want to be right now. You might see them go with a Jinx or a Kog'Maw, a kind of champion that wants to scale very heavily into the late game. That works well with a Janna that they've now locked in, and having the Maokai with that, it's going to be big frontline. They really want frontline, and it's exactly what they've done, the same as last game, big tanks.
And that's what kind of won it for last game. The frontline was so effective as Janna getting locked in there, Maokai getting locked in as well, and Luch hovering over the Zed. Maybe a bit of a change from the Orianna.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they're going to lock those ones in right now. Hovering Zed as a blind pick essentially is a big risk because there's lots you can do against it. Whether Rebellion know that or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he does pick in the middle lane, as we don't have a middle lane for Rebellion just yet, but could easily be countered. And I mean, last game we were talking about maybe seeing the Morgana, but that's already been stolen by Best Players Ocean.
Yeah, it has, and I really like, by the way, so far what they've done with Rebellion's team comp. Even though 3 of the 5 have been selected, that's 3 out of 5 that really says what they're going to do as a team, and that is protect their AD carry and mid laner, which are being, one of them at least, is counter-picking.
Yeah, and counter-picking really is essential to these lobbies, as we see 3 seconds left in the pick process, and it might be Gragas and Sejuani as we look and finally count down, and Gragas not often you see him in any professional play.
No, and when you do see him, it tends to be top or jungle. But having the Sejuani, that tells me that it is going to be a top Gragas, unless they're pulling out a wild card and saying it's a mid Gragas. I have not seen that in a very long time.
They're full of surprises today, and if Luch does go mid Gragas, well, I'm going to get pretty excited and maybe see a bit of versatility coming into that lane, and Sejuani being locked in, and of course the final pick for Rebellion.
Yeah, and you're not the only one who'd be excited about the Gragas pick, but right now we've got the Kalista being hovered. I like that pick. They're trying to pick around the first 3 champions. They've got scale into a late game with the AD carry in the mid, who are going to have to do ridiculous amounts of work and damage to make sure that they are still relevant and they're not just a team of tanks.
No, and you don't want that. I mean, last game, really who brought it forward was the Lucian. So as long as you've got that backline really strong, you're going to have a lot to work with.
Yeah, as long as the backline is strong, you definitely have a lot to work with. As they're hovering Lissandra right now with 1 second left, and that is a very smart pick. It goes in the front line, actually, with the tanks. And so having the Janna to protect that, it's going to be pretty hard to kill the Lissandra, even though she's going to be in the front line.
A combination of damage and tankiness, or of aggression, really makes it such a good team comp. But Lissandra being locked in, and there's the Kalista as well. And how's Moon going to respond to that with the last pick, or at least best plays Ocean?
Well, we don't actually know what they're picking right now. I'm assuming it's going to be the mid laner as they hover the Xerath. Xerath, I actually like Xerath right now. They're looking at picking someone that's not going to have to deal with the front line. Xerath can forego that. He can use his ultimate and he can kill the backline with that one, or he can use the Q as they hover Vlad, and we're not entirely sure what they're going to do yet, so let's not make any rash assumptions.
Of course not. And coming back to that Kalista, as Xerath does get locked in, and that's an interesting pick, and what an interesting team composition from Best Players Ocean.
Yeah, now Best Players Ocean, they have just as big a front line as Rebellion do right now, so it's going to be a lot of tanks butting heads and trying to hit each other with wet noodles, and not a whole lot's going to happen there. But you can see the difference right now. What I think is a pivotal turning point between the team comps. Graves is more mid-game focused. He tends to do more bursts and be a lot more relevant in the mid-game. Xerath scales late, very well into the late game though. They've got a Kalista who scales well into the late. They've got Rek'Sai who'll still do damage all game. And they've got the Lissandra who will still do ridiculous amounts of damage all game. So there is a chance the Best Players Ocean could get outscaled if it goes equal up until that late game.
But they're not similar comps to last game, are they? I mean, we're seeing a lot more damage come through, and Best Players Ocean coming back to that where there is so much weird versatility there.
Yeah, they're definitely shown that they can do more than one thing. They're playing weird champions like the Gragas. They had the Nidalee top last round. Chippies is showing off his immense champion pool. Given the fact that they've been banning Aurelia away from him, and that he can pick such weird champions in response and do well on them, goes to show how experienced a player he is and how much he has mastered the top lane.
And Chippies, of course, being a bit cheeky last game with Nidalee. So if he's as cheeky as he was last game with the Gragas this game, we're going to see some weird ults coming out.
And that's definitely possible, being that he is a Gragas, a favourite champion of many that you don't often see. He could very well just roam with the Gragas and start knocking people everywhere. It's a pleasure to be a part of watching, to be perfectly honest. It is great.
And compared to that Lissandra, at least, there's going to be a weird matchup. And coming back to the team fight, especially with Gragas against Lissandra in the team fight, who's going to be more utilised?
Well, it's hard to say who's going to be utilised a lot more. They do have different purposes in team fights. Gragas likes to disperse teams or knock someone of importance towards the rest of his team, whereas Lissandra wants them all to be clumped up in a ball so that she can either ult one person or ult herself and just do lots of AoE damage to everyone, slow them, crowd control everywhere. Bit of a different play style, but they're both going to be very relevant in their own right.
And Zeratul picking up the Graves from the other game, which was taken by Yggdrasil. So it's a bit of a swap there, but if he was as good as he was last game with the last game pick there with Lucian, we're going to see a lot of skill coming out.
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully Zeratul has what it takes to show off Graves in a late game. It's very difficult just because Graves has got a very low auto attack range. So coming into the late game, he needs to be in the fray. He needs to be in the middle, doing a lot of work, but being in a very dangerous position. And it takes a very skilled AD carry to be able to do that as Graves in the late game.
And how does Graves work? I mean, like, not generally, but we see Graves in team compositions focusing around it. His burst is huge. So who's he going to have to aim first?
Well, he's probably going to have to aim for the tanks, and that could be an issue. Unless he finds himself in a position where he can flank, he can utilize his burst on a carry and then have to focus on the tanks. That's perfectly fine, and that might be what he wants to do. But it's very hard given that they've got the Rek'Sai, they've got the Maokai, they've even got the Lissandra. So he's most likely going to have to try and hit the Lissandra.
And a couple of swap picks here. Rek'Sai going to Rebellion this side. They don't want Jakey to have it, but Jakey does pick up Sejuani, which is a very popular pick at the moment.
Yeah, they first picked away the Rek'Sai. They did not want Jakey on that. But Jakey, again, showing how versatile best players Ocean seem to be. Being able to pick up that Sejuani, it's a very strong champion, given the Cinder Hulk in the latest patch. And we are on 5.5, so he's most likely going to pick that one up. Really complements the jungle of a Sejuani. And it's very, very difficult to kill that champion.
And Rebellion have to win this game, otherwise they will be eliminated, and best players Ocean will be winning it, so there's going to be a lot of intensity there. So coming back to the junglers with objective control, how does Sejuani go early in controlling that first dragon?
It's very hard to control things compared to a Rek'Sai in the early game of Sejuani. You almost have to use your flash just to assure that there is a chance of getting a kill. It's not even guaranteed this early in the game. But having a Xerath might help with that. Having a Gragas might help. They've got a lot of crowd control to complement the Sejuani. Maybe she doesn't have to initiate, and that'll help a lot.
Yeah, and a comp like that you don't see often. I wonder does Gragas really complement Sejuani there?
Gragas complementing Sejuani, it's very relative to how the team fight goes, Sejuani will tend to want to initiate the fights. Gragas not often using his ultimate to initiate a fight unless he's catching someone really out of position or flanking to do it. So you'll see the Sejuani most likely throw the ultimate first, followed up by the Morgana and the Graves burst, and then you'll see Gragas tactically use his ult, or even save the ult if they need to back off and the fight did not go how they planned.
Yeah, and unplanned fights is really the concept of last game, where it went so back and forth that we didn't really know what was going on because Rebellion took advantage of some control, and especially when best players Ocean turned that back around. So this game with a Kalista, what are we going to see in that backline in terms of control and taking objectives and the speed of it?
Well, taking objectives is one of Kalista's favourite things to do. Having that Rend, getting a lot of attack speed, and able to get lots of spears into a Dragon or a Baron, or even just a red and blue buff, or a tank champion. The Rend does ridiculous amounts of damage. It does more than a smite. So if you're talking about objective control from the backline, they're going to be favourites of that.
It's going to be absolutely perfect, as we might see a Renan's Hurricane coming out, or what are the other build paths that Kalista could take as Yggdrasil might try and carry this forward?
Well, my theory, given the latest patch, is that everybody likes to go Cinderhulk. Now, Cinderhulk gives 25% bonus health, so you'll see most champions that can do it will go for the Blade of the Ruined King. That does percentage of max health in damage, so having that will be ridiculously good.
An absolutely ridiculous game to look forward to then, as we see best players Ocean versus Rebellion. It's already 1-0, but let's hope Rebellion can equal the favour here and put up a bit of a fight.
The Rebellion have got a point to prove here. There was definitely moments of brilliance amongst that, and they really need to show that they need this, and they definitely need this to stay in this tournament.
Yeah, and Jake, he's setting up the fight here in case they're looking for a bit of a collapse in that jungle early, and it's already been warded, so it's already well spotted, and Rebellion might not get surprised here.
Yes, and this is smart to see. They've recognized that best players Ocean might try and group and invade. They've put the ward down, so now they're aware that that invade is happening. They placed the second ward a little bit later at the red buff, so now they can see it all unfolding.
And best players Ocean very deep there in the jungle, still looking for something, and in turn, Rebellion goes to their jungle.
Yeah, best players Ocean actually placing that ward to try and prevent a lane swap. So you don't often see it being placed in the lane that we're in now, but you'll be able to recognize early enough if it's the AD carry and support walking there that you have to swap back or swap with them or just try and stay in. They want to get the 2v2.
Some good early warding, which is going to prevent that as minions spawn, and we see best players Ocean playing a bit passive now and going back to their own jungle.
Yeah, and you can see Rebellion have actually recognized that the ward is there. It doesn't really phase them at all. They're fine with getting the 2v2. They didn't want to lane swap.
And it looks like standardly there will be some standard lanes, so nothing to worry about as Yggdrasil helps Sybil start with the Krugs as they just spawn now.
Yeah, Sybil starting at the Krugs. He's getting the help of the bot lane. They do a lot more damage for him than if it was a top laner helping out. And sometimes you'll have the top laner helping jungle with you is the only exception of where you start.
And once again, we're seeing that top laner start with the Wolves, and it's a different top laner this time. Before it was Lush, and now it's Chippies, but they both favourite those Wolves to get that level advantage.
Yeah, they're both actually starting their own respective jungle camps. So you've got Luce at the Wolves right now, you've got Chippies at the Raptors. They're both going to get level 2, most likely. They're both going to recall, they're both going to teleport with level 2, and nothing's actually going to come from that besides both of them being level 2.
It's going to be a funny combination up bot. As Moon taking a lot of damage, the binding does hit, and there's a bit of trade back and forth between Zeratul and Patu, but Zeratul doing a lot of damage early, and got to be careful of that Graves.
Yeah, Zeratul very proficient on the Graves champion. Moon hitting the bind gives a lot of freedom for Graves to do a lot of damage, and against the Janna, it's very easy to do damage.
Yeah, and Luch in the middle lane, talk about damage, and he's already going to be doing some damage to that other mid laner, and Chippies and Luch up top. It's just a big battle up there for big-sized men.
That's right, they're just going to consistently butt heads. They've both got massive amounts of sustain again. They both love those sustain tanks, and they're going to be, they're just going to be hitting each other. Not a whole lot's going to be coming from it. They're just going to continue to do it.
Not too much going on at the moment with an equal-sized farm for both of them. Remember, both top laners starting those camps, so not too much to be impressed about at the time being, but we see the mid laner a slight lead on Lissandra.
Yeah, Lissandra's getting a small lead. It's mostly because she's managing to hit all of those Qs through the minions. Very clever play from her and utilizing that. It just looks like it has a deceptively much longer range when it goes through the minions. And
her engage, of course, is going to be a lot better, where Xerath just stands back and pokes. So if she can play the aggressor in this one, we might see a bit of a weird matchup in middle, or a bit of a weird late game, as both of them just trade back and forth there.
Yeah, look, across the board right now, I feel like every single lane wants to trade with each other. Maybe the only exception is Kalista and Janna just want to survive. They're really trying to get past that stage. It's scary where Morgana can throw out binds and there's no answer to it. They need Kalista to ramp up, and that's a Janna lane in a nutshell.
And especially when Moon's already landed a couple of bindings there as he goes for the third one and just missing out on range. But Moon, again, he's really good at those support plays. He's really good at knowing what to do with his support.
Well, he seems to be he likes to play very aggressive. We can note that much, that's for sure. He's trying to hit as many binds as possible. He likes to sit in the bushes to stop them from having control. And that's it's a favorite thing of a Morgana to do.
And against a Janna who has so much disengage, as we see Jakey and Sybil might just be changing faces here, and Jakey wants to go across, but he's not going to.
Jakey just high-fiving Sybil there as they met at the top of mid lane. Going to go back to farming. Jakey Sybil having finally realized and tunneling away.
Yeah, he's not as tanky as he was this time, but look, Sybil, he's not Sion just yet, but he's going to get a bit tanky, as we've seen engaged down the bottom, and Yggdrasil and Patu proving the exception there and actually kind of winning that trade-off.
Yeah, Morgana actually binded the Kalista, so for that to go so well was very interesting to note. But we can see the Sejuani here may capitalize on the aggression.
And Jakey, level 4 already, the same level as Yggdrasil. So now he's going to try and hop out of this, but they pick Patu with a nice flash on Patu, securing first blood there. That 3v2 really worked out for them.
That was an extremely clever gank, as we see Sybil potentially coming in, but not. Okay, so we'll focus on the Sejuani then, right? The flash engage on the Janna. That was clever, because normally you go for the Kalista thinking they'll get a double kill, but they recognized that it wasn't possible. They went for the Janna instead. They got the free kill, and it gives them a lot of control in bottom lane.
And although bursting a flash, it does give a bit of a boost to Graves, who Zeratul, if he gets that boost early, as we saw, or even in that mid stage, he really knows how to use it.
Yeah, and Zeratul definitely knows how to hold a lead in the early game. We saw it last game, rushing the early pickaxe, trying to cement the farm lead, and if he gets another farm lead and it's against the Kalista, it's going to start to hurt more and more.
Yeah, and Kalista just trying to farm up here in the bottom lane, quite even for the time being, despite having that pressure from Sejuani. So it's good that Yggdrasil, he's still maintaining that.
And you can see there's actually a BF sword now for the Graves. Kalista's about 10 odd CS away from that BF sword, so a little bit of catching up to do right now, and hopefully can recall before Graves comes back to lane as we see it now. And there's no kill pressure.
And that's so early for a BF sword as well. You're into 6 minutes 30 as we see Sybil, who now is looking for the engagement. The Katie comes in and forcing a flash out of Luch. A nice engage.
He's reacting by throwing out the ultimate, really just to do a bit of damage, trying to say, well, you know, you're just getting to me, I may as well try and do something back to you, but not much going to come from that.
And Luch picking up 6 during that as well, so not too much damage coming out, but he's still putting out a lot of hurt.
He's still putting out a lot of hurt, that's right. And he's got the Chalice now, so he's trying to go a bit more of a defensive path in terms of itemization for the early game. Looking to stop taking all of that damage from Lissandra, who repeatedly hitting him.
And Jakey, he's in there as well, but he's not going to engage as Luch. He doesn't have his ult just yet, but Jakey, he's being a bit sneaky in this early game stage.
Yeah, he's trying to make things happen, and as a Sejuani pre-6, it's not that easy to do. We have to recognize that he doesn't have the flash available, and that makes ganking a lot harder until he gets the ultimate.
And this Gragas up top just trading off, as we see in the minimap. There might be an engage coming in the top lane, but in the meantime, Patu's just going to roam to that mid.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of kill potential in the top lane, irrespective of what they do right now. As we said earlier, just tanks butting heads.
Butting heads is what they love to do, and Janna moving herself to the mid lane might give a bit more experience for Yggdrasil, but if he does get caught out with Kalista, that might be it for him.
It's very hard to hit the Kalista with the binding because of the amount of mobility she gets from auto-attacking, but you can see Moon really trying to be a pest in there, being very cheeky in the bot lane, trying to hit binds where possible.
And that's what he was last game, a bit of a pest to the enemy team. As Rebellion Sybil, he now might be caught out as he tries to tunnel away. The Unburrow might not save him, forcing a flash where he might not have needed that, and Katie adding a bit of pressure to get him out of there.
It's moments like this you really kind of wanted the Xerath to have the ultimate available to be able to use that and maybe pick up a kill there. There was that potential, but Xerath didn't really have the mana either to throw spells, and Sejuani being 5, not going to have kill pressure as they look at the dragon.
And best players Ocean looking for this opportunity for the first dragon, just to get them ahead with a bit of extra damage, and Luch pressuring off the bottom lane as they try to come in, along with Rek'Sai, who he wants to tunnel in, he wants to steal this, but Sybil might not be able to, as the teleport to secure it comes down, and he gets the E off in a perfect manner, just as Luch wants to come in, and now Moon gets bursted down, and it looks like Rebellion might take that pick quite nicely, but they still got the dragon. Best players Ocean.
Yeah, they managed to make a trade in terms of kills, but best players Ocean securing the dragon, not a big deal for them. What's one kill for a dragon? You know, that's kind of worth it. You'd be calling worth right now.
Definitely would. As best players Ocean, they do have 300 gold lead, but Rebellion evening that out with 1-for-1 kills.
Yeah, 1-for-1, not a massive amount of gold, and Dragon's the only real difference between the teams. Not a tower to speak of either. There's no real significant difference between them all right now.
A lot of both teams are just playing very passively for the time being. Since last game was a bit of a bloodbath, it seems like it's the opposite this one. They're thinking of every move perfectly, and they're just judging it that so.
Yeah, they seem to be slowing the game down a bit. They've both recognized how strong they are and at what points of the game they will start to become stronger. They're taking this part of the game very slow because no team is significantly far ahead or spiking more than the other one at this point in time.
Rek'Sai using the ult, but down bottom there, bit of a trade-off between Graves, picking up a kill on Kalista again, 2 for none.
Yeah, and this is right now, it's because Graves has a BF sword. Kalista's opting for that Blade of the Ruined King build. The damage in a trade-off, even in a 1v1, is heavily in favor of the Graves. And you can see right there, the CS lead's going to grow. Graves gets another kill, starting to get really scary and ramp up there is Zeratul.
And the recurve bow coming from Yggdrasil, who he obviously wants that attack speed for the Rangers. The flash comes in from Katie. Looks like he's going to go out, but then flashes in for the ult. Doesn't go in, and Luch, who's survived by about half health.
Yeah, Xerath not actually even needing the flash. I believe he has a cleanse and used that one to get out of the Lissandra ult, saving him there. So very smart pickup.
All these flashes, it looks like there's a bit of fear coming out of both teams, not wanting to get picked and get both teams snowballing like you saw best players Ocean if they weren't snowballed last game. As we see Jakey, who lands in the ult, but it's not enough to CC Katie, and Katie uses the Glacial Path to get out.
Yeah, so only just missing there was a Sejuani ult, almost stunning, and that could have been completely different if that were to hit, so very unlucky.
Yeah, and Luch only surviving by a bit of health, and both mid laners getting pressured out of their lanes for another day, and Chippies and Luch, both big fellas, trading off nicely.
Yeah, we said there's not a lot of action going on, but have a look at the action going on top. They are consistently hitting each other, regardless of what's happening in any other lane. It's just that they're not able to kill each other.
And there's a bit of healing coming on with Chippy's passive as Gragas getting a bit of health every time he does a spell, and Sybil sitting in the grass there as well, just waiting for an opportunity. But Luch also has healing, so all they have to do is cast spells and your health's back.
That's right, and Gragas does cast a lot of spells because he needs it to heal as well as
And Luch is in a bit of trouble, but having said that, Sybil was there waiting, so it's now 2v2 in the top, and Jakey might look to zone this as well, as Jakey, he's playing very aggressively, but not too much in that top lane at the moment.
It's got to be one of the weirdest 2v2s to ever watch in a game of League of Legends because they're all so tanky. None of them do that much damage at all, besides maybe the Rek'Sai this early in the game. The kill pressure is minimal at best, but seeing them place the pressure like they have right there, it's kind of just trying to push an advantage, maybe get one who can teleport and have some use somewhere else.
And Moon looking for the Dark Binding again, and Patu seeing this as a bit of an opportunity to trade off, but the shield goes on Yggdrasil just in case.
Yeah, he's actually going for that Hurricane, so I was wrong in saying he's going for the Blade of the Ruined King. He's looking to hit multiple targets and be a bigger hyper carry than he would be with just a Blade.
And since Yggdrasil, he's already got one death against him, and he's only got an assist, so may as well get that attack speed up and get a bit of farm ability so you can just rend all the minions and give yourself a bit of gold.
Yeah, and the scary thing right now, though, is definitely just having to lane in bot lane. You'd almost want to say, Hurricane's fairly cost-efficient item. It's pretty cheap to get. You'd probably want to group after it now because you're going to really struggle in a 2v2 lane like this with Graves so fed.
And there's a lot of intensity in the bot lane as well with Graves already having that BF sword and the pickaxe. So next back, you got to wonder if he does finally pick up that Infinity Edge and experience that huge burst of damage.
You have no doubt he'll try and pick up the Infinity Edge next recall, or at least try and save enough money for that. Maybe get some boots with it, depending on how long laning goes for right now. But the second he finishes that, Dragon's up in a minute 40. We'll probably see them utilize that Infinity Edge for a fight around it.
And another pick from Rebellion around Dragon could set them up quite nicely, as they did before. And Sybil was a bit of the successor of that fight.
Yeah, we know that both teams are very capable of initiating team fights with extreme synergy. Given that they're such new teams as a group, they're doing it very well like that to really show their prowess as a team, so it's quite good.
And Maokai holding quite a lot of gold at the moment against Chippy, so next back we might see maybe the Rod of Ages getting finished, or maybe getting close to that.
No, he's definitely got enough money for the Rod of Ages right now, holding 2.2k. He should be able to easily buy that. I'm not actually entirely sure what he's saving his money for right now. The sooner you get that, the sooner it starts to ramp up.
You got to think they're having that much fun in the top lane that both of them, they've both got the catalyst of the Protector, and they're just thinking, hey, let's just get some farm and trade off, and we're good guys. As we see Sybil engaging, forcing another flash out of loop. Luchu now gets Jakey to come over. Now there's a lot of synergy going between them, as Sybil taking a lot of damage, but now Katie helps out with the ult. A nice ult from Katie to zone that, as the ult from Zerath. Oh my god, what a nice binding from Moon, and Katie forced to use that Glacial Path to get out. Moon maybe a bit early with that ult, but a nice pick as we still see the fight continuing down against Zeratul, who's got a lot of spears in him, waiting for the Ren down there, and Patu using the ult quite effectively. What a nice pick. A bit messy all around.
That was an extremely cool ending to the fight right there. You can see Idrisil picking up Janna, getting him away from the damage because Graves flashed to actually use that collateral and instantly hurt us. Graves actually cancelling that.
Oh, Chippies, the damage against Katie. You haven't been anywhere this game, but here you are coming straight on Katie where the cooldown comes down and he runs with his belly first.
Yeah, Chippies definitely knows what he's doing, and he rotates at the perfect times, teleporting in there to secure a kill. Sybil trying to respond to maybe save his teammate. Didn't get there in time, and they may just go for this dragon.
Yeah, it's going to be a good dragon if they can secure this. Chippies, he ran through Lissandra like that. He just ran through Katie like it was nothing, and Chippies might be a bit of a force to be reckoned with, considering that no one's seen Gragas for quite a while.
Yeah, he's not an often played champion, and maybe that's working in their advantage. They don't know how to deal with the Gragas. He's very weird in his own right, so having to know how Gragas works, not that common.
And the red team getting their second dragon against Rebellion, who have yet to pick up their first one, and the gold lead stands at about 1k, but might go a bit less as we see it at 500 after Lush picks up a well-needed turret.
Yeah, it's only about a 400 gold lead now, but that is 2 dragons to none, and the difference is a tower, but they can very easily get a single tower back themselves. Like, they're pushing in the bot lane very hard. They're just choosing not to take the turret because they want to try and extend their laning phase for as long as possible and really push that advantage that they do have in that lane.
And especially when the Infinity Edge has now popped up for Graves, so Zeratul picking that up, a lot of damage if he can bring up that spike of damage.
Yeah, so he's finished the Infinity Edge. He's going to look to probably upgrade his boots now. Once he gets that, even though it's not a massive difference in like item cost or damage output, it gives a lot more kill potential just because of the mobility. It's really hard to keep up with someone jumping around like that.
Yeah, especially when Yggdrasil already has that Renan's Hurricane, and the burst is huge. Yggdrasil forced to use that ult, get Patu out of there, and wow, that was close.
And you can see how far ahead they are in this bot lane right now. They can instantly blow up that Janna. It's just extremely well played by the Kalista. It's happened twice now. They've actually denied the possible kills coming out of Graves to slow down the snowballing.
And Patu didn't see that coming at all. I guess sort of took him by surprise when Zeratul came back to lane with that Infinity Edge, so definitely someone to watch out for.
Yeah, and it's all, you could definitely credit that all due to Moon hitting all of these amazing bindings. And the kill, it's very easy to get a kill if you were Graves when they're binded.
Yeah, and Luch already got the Unholy Angel Grail there with the Sorcerer's Shoes to pick up some Magic Pen, along with that Doran's Ring he has started with. So the rest of BPO are scaling quite nicely, as long as with Chippies getting the Rod of Ages.
Yeah, it's good to see Luch not going for the tier this game and having finished the Athenes as soon as possible. He'll be able to scale in damage a lot quicker this game, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, there's a Rebellion sort of stack up in the middle lane, looking for a bit of a pick. And Jakey, he's sitting in that bush. He thinks something's going to happen, so we might see a team fight coming out soon as Luch lands a really nice stun. But now the other Luch takes this as a great opportunity. He's still on him as Katie's sitting back against Chippy's. Chippy's forced to use an ult as the rest of the blue team come in. And now Jakey a little bit late, but late is better than never. So here we go as Luch looking for Jakey again, but they're going to pull off.
Yeah, that was a really good engage. They managed to hit the stun on the Lissandra, but then both front lines they got there at the same time, and they both used all their spells and pushed in at the same time, and nobody actually died.
And a couple of stuns going against Luch, and a lot of damage getting done against him. He doesn't have too much tankiness at the moment. Well, he has just picked up his first item there.
Yeah, that's right. And I think looking at this right now, the difference between who's going to actually win team fights is who can kill the back line first. Now, we've seen that particular fight right there, nobody dying. That was due to the fact that the front line were doing work and the carries had to ult them.
And they took an opportunity and they seized it, which is like what we'll see soon if any teams try to bait out any of these bushes. But we've got a lot of warding around the map.
We do have a lot of warding around the map, and the tunnels are going to help a lot as well. You can see when people start to stand on those, you can see them disappear. Little things like that. They've got lots of pink wards across the map here with BPO, and there's, I believe, 2 in response from Rebellion.
A lot of pink wards, a lot of vision control as Katie gets bursted down. Luch looking for the kill, and he does take it with a nice pick from Luch.
And that was exactly what we want to see. We want to see carries going down to try and turn the game into a particular team's direction. There's now I believe, close to a 2,000 gold lead now, and it's starting to build up in favor of Best Players Ocean.
And what awesome damage coming out of Luch in the middle lane. Here's the Wrath. He landed the stun and he said, hey, I've got to go in. This is a great opportunity. And of course, he just took it.
And that's right. He's finished the Sork Shoes with the Athenes right now, so he has spiked a lot in damage. He's got a lot of sustain with the mana now, so he can just consistently throw out spells. And he's definitely using that to the most of his ability, hitting a lot of stuns.
Yeah, and adding to another skill kill there with 5 for 2 for BPO. Already in a bit of a lead, but not too much that it puts Rebellion out of the lead for the time being.
No, but you've seen them trying to push mid lane right now, almost like they are now, but there's been 3 or so just revolving around there. And considering that, it's really impressive to note that Luch still has 170 CS.
That is an awesome amount. These mid laners are awesome in this game. Luch and Katie both farming quite nicely, and Luch especially keeping to last game where he had a nice amount of farm by 20 minutes, and once again, he still got it.
Yeah, he certainly knows how to farm, this guy, and he knows how to play a late game champion.
And as we see BPO looking for the pressure in the mid lane as well. Sejuani just trying to get a couple of camps as Jakey thinks that's probably the best situation, picking up a Sightstone for the team.
Yeah, picking up a Sightstone for the team, it tells you that they want vision control. They really love their Sightstones. 2 Sightstones right now for Best Players Ocean. They had the same thing last game. And the reason it's picked up is because it's so good with Cinderhole.
And we see a lot of both teams looking for that Dragon, which comes up in a minute. So a lot of positional warding coming out from both teams, especially Rebellion there.
Well, they're all recognizing now. Dragon's up in 50 seconds. They're going to have to start translating all of the wards towards the Dragon. You can see Best Players Ocean are now forcing themselves around there as
oh, Katie having to force the ult away from Zerath because Luch is doing so much damage. The Dark Binding hits, but it's not enough to finish off Luch. And Katie nearly got bursted there.
Yeah, Katie's really struggling at the moment. You can see he's been killed once, and now he's struggling again as they go in here.
Oh, so many ults popped on Sybil. They really want him as the Gragas ult backfires as getting him away there. And Luch might be in a bit of trouble as Jakey still wants this. And Chippy's, he's got to redeem himself from that ult. But no, they do get away only just. And here comes the Morgana binding from Yggdrasil. He really wants this kill, but he's not going to get it. And a bit of lack of positioning there as we still see Jakey who wants the kill on Luch. And all the bindings are coming out. So much CC there. And Padu tries to get this ult, but he doesn't manage to get rid of any of the members of BPO.
Yeah, they were just looking to get a single kill there to maybe secure the fact that they were going to go for the Dragon. It is live right now, but Rebellion have something to say about that.
Oh, here comes Sybil, who comes straight over the wall looking for the unburrow. The burrow has been done, but Luch not able to take enough damage, and Sybil, he wants to escape this with so much slow on him.
Yeah, Rebellion are kind of just trying to push them away from the Dragon right now. They know that they can't let them have it. It's a big win condition, and they saw that Graves was bottom. It gave them an opportunity to do so.
And Sybil getting altered out there by Chippy's really kept him alive. You can see he scored 0 for 1. Would have been 2 deaths there, but Chippy's making a bit of a mistake with that ult, and Rebellion capitalizing on that just a little bit.
Very difficult thing to use, to be fair. And the smallest mistake, the smallest error in judgment, or the smallest unexpected move from an enemy player will make your ult do something you do not want it to do.
And they're setting up for Dragon here again after all that turmoil. And we can see Rebellion nicely positioned here, as well as BPO. They're looking to come in here, and best players Ocean might not be able to contest this.
Now, Rebellion seem to have the numbers advantage right now. They recognize that they can definitely do that. There should not be any contest. You see Sejuani and Gragas were in base. Gragas having the teleport, though, they're opting not to do it because they do need Sejuani.
And Patu, they're looking for an opportunity where Jakey is just popping his head in to get rid of a bit of ward coverage. 7 kills for 2, though. You've got to be wondering, should we team fight this?
Well, Jakey having his ult up soon, you definitely should be thinking that BPO will be trying to push a team fight on them right now. They need to catch Katie out of position again. Force Katie to maybe ult himself or ult a tank, and then it's going to go very well for them, you would imagine.
And because Katie is struggling just a little bit in that mid lane, having picked up the magic resist there.
Yeah, he's picked up the magic resistance, going for the abyssals, no doubt. They look to maybe fight here as well, though.
And Katie comes in with a glacial path, but Chippy's using that ult perfectly that time. Zoning off Katie so hard. A nice pick.
That was so good by Chippies right there. He couldn't even ult himself. Katie still has his ult available. He still has flash available. Everything available. He just got CC'd and instantly died before he could do anything.
And that was such good redemption from Chippy, especially since that last ult may have zoned out the wrong way, but taking short work at Katie and a bit of a bully Chippies is becoming.
And just as we said, you know, this is exactly what they wanted to do. They need to get rid of Katie. Katie's such a big impact. Remember the last game on Ari? Hitting the charms did so much work for Rebellion and made them win team fights when they were really far behind in gold. Right now, they're focusing him. And he's now 1-3. He's got 40 less CS. He's not having as big an impact as he would like.
In the comparison, you look at the mid laners and the Abyssal Scepter getting popped out for Katie. Already having the second item there. Not upgrading the boots just yet, but the needlessly large rod is coming through for Luch as we see Rebellion down in that bottom lane looking for a sneaky little pick against Zeratul.
Hey, they do this too.
And here we go, Zeeble. Here he comes against Zeratul. And he might have been a bit too far, but he nearly trades that off with Patu making it worth. But there's the shutdown gold bonus that Yggdrasil really needs.
They definitely needed that, and the sheer numbers advantage allowed that to happen. It's very good of them to make sure that Kalista was the one who got the kill, and that was very important as they pick up a tower with it.
Yeah, and there's a really good opportunity for Rebellion to push hard and capture that gold lead, which they've been missing out on. 5k gold now. It has increased again, but hopefully it's like last game and there's a bit of hope there.
And remember, that's 5k gold after such a big power play that got them back in the game even more. So they were really far behind up until that point. A small misplay from Zeratul in terms of staying around where he shouldn't have been, and a great rotation from Rebellion has closed the gap where you would almost think unthinkable.
Yeah, and because of that gap, look at the farm. Look at the farm difference there. You got to look at 30 between the mid laners and almost 40 between the ADCs, and you got to think that BPO really consistent with their farm.
We've seen this happen both games now. They're so good at farming just from laning phase alone. You can tell they really wanted to extend the laning phase to ensure that they did get as much farm as possible, to try and find as big a lead as possible, and you can see how that translates into team fights where they make picks.
Yeah, Luch still a force to be reckoned with as he picks up the Rabadons, a huge flat AP Scally there.
Yeah, picking up the Rabadons is a smart decision. You can see the reaction from Katie was the Abyssal Scepter. That's a very defensive decision. He's recognized that he is dying a lot to Chippies, taking a lot of damage from Luch. He doesn't want to die anymore. He knows he needs to live, so he's picked that one up instead.
Rebellion is still looking for a pick here as we see a lot of pressure coming down that mid lane, but Chippy's looking to reposition for Patu, maybe get him picked out like he was trying to before. As Chippy's drinks a guzzle there and he's looking for something, but he's not going to engage this time.
This is good from Rebellion. They've recognized it as they're actually going to go in here.
And here comes the ult from Katie, who looks for Moon, being so squishy at the time, being the smite, having to finish off the kill he thought he had. And Chippy's now has a couple of spears in him. The Rend, he's got to be careful of that as the ult comes out from Jakey. What perfect timing, and Zarath sitting in that back line looking for the damage, but Katie re-engages on this one. Chippy's only just surviving, same with Jakey and Luch, sitting in that back line. They got hammered out.
That was actually really good by best players Ocean. You would say it was an amazing engage by Rebellion, but what they did right there, Zeratul has been split pushing. He's only just grouping mid now. He got that second turret in the top lane, and all they were trying to do right there as best players Ocean was maybe defend the turret. They got a really good Sejuani ult off, and they disengaged once they were low. And it was extremely well played, and it was a good tactic from them to secure a turret for that trade.
Yeah, and good decision there. Let's see if it pays off as another dragon coming up in a minute 30 is might be the third dragon for BPO or the second one for Rebellion, but really crucial dragon here for best players Ocean.
Yeah, Rebellion did well to actually get that third dragon when that came up. So now they've got one, and they denied BPO from getting a third. So the third dragon, very important, and you would want to hope, if possible, Rebellion will try to stop that from happening. As we see, best players Ocean looking at the Baron.
Again, they're looking for a sneaky Baron. Now, this time, hopefully Rebellion can pick this up and maybe steal it or put up a bit of competition. No ward coverage at the moment, so it is a blank space for Rebellion. So let's see if they can pop their head in the door as a Dark Binding hits Katie. No success there at the moment. But Lush, he wants this kill, but he can't get the Baron in time as Red Team picks it up. Now they're looking to re-engage as Katie pops the ult against Moon, who now gets taken out. But then Katie gets taken out by a run from Gragas. And Chippy's still sitting in that back line looking for an opportunity as Sybil now picks him up. And Yggdrasil and Padu getting zoned out once before. Now looking for Zerator as it is a 3v1. But now a nice kill from Jakey, who turns the tides of battle back on them, and Luce getting a force flash. Yggdrasil's out of the battle. There's no possible Ren there. And Jakey nearly dying, but actually getting destroyed there as Cyborg tries to give him a bit of backup, but there's a lot of picks there.
So it was a really interesting Baron decision from them. They thought they were out of vision, but the Xerath actually used a Q in vision as they might get the Graves here.
And Sybil taking a huge crit, which might backfire, and now Luce looking for the kill. Is he going to get it, though? Only just surviving, and what great play by Zeratul, using that Infinity Edge and that Baron buff once again. 6 for 1.
And Zeratul again showing he really has what it takes. The mechanics are on point. He doesn't even need mana. He's just going to stand there and right-click them, and they're going to die. Finish that last Whisper, doing so much work, and he's so impressive to watch.
And you can't help but say something to Lucian Sybil, who maybe just should have stayed at base, but that was such great play by Zeratul, who used his high damage, and the Phantom Dancer and the last Whisper coming through there with the lifesteal as well.
Yeah, it's a fair assumption, though. You were 1-on-2, you're thinking you're tanked. You're not going to really take damage from him. I guess they didn't realize that he had a last Whisper already, and that helped a lot.
And the third Dragon going to BPO there, which is going to be essential for their movement speed, giving him a lot of potential to roam, and with the Baron buff as well, a lot of pressure.
Well, now that they have the Baron buff, the pressure is going to increase by about 10-fold right now. The lead, it's about 8,000 gold. It's a very scary amount of gold to be behind by if you were Rebellion. And they're going to have to do what they did before to Zeratul, try and make a pick, try and catch someone out of position, slow down what Best Players Ocean are about to do right now, and that is most likely going to be Siege.
A lot of pressure going through there. With the Baron minions, a lot of pushing power down that mid lane.
That's right, and most of this has come from the fact that they've just managed to outlast hidden lane and grow slow leads, translating to a team fight, as they are doing so much damage.
Sybil. You didn't expect that when Zeratul came down and did so much damage, and now Janky is just tanking this as Luce tries to push him off, but Zeratul, he comes in with the flash. He knows what's up as he's sitting in that back line. He's just firing away, getting his lifesteal back, and there's the stun from Zerath. A nice combination from BPO, and in they come in with chippies, but not enough damage to finish it out. The Dark Binding does hit. They're looking for the combo. The cleanse gets him out of that, and an inhibitor is going to go down as part of it.
They're just doing so much work. It's very hard to stop them at this stage. Zeratul's so manly.
Oh, Chippy's flashing in, but not enough damage to finish off Yggdrasil, but Luch, he just piles that on top.
And as I say, that's so manly. All of them are making plays right now, and they're all very serious about ending this game as soon as possible.
And Luch wants to get Moon off his back as Padu now sends in a Howling Gale. Sybil looking to do the same, but the red team just going to back off. BPO thinking this through quite well.
Yeah, well done by Rebellion to push them away to stop them from ending the game, which is definitely what it looked like they wanted to do. That was such a big team fight. Zeratul does not care if a tower's hitting him. He's just going to chunk them all.
Chippy's, of course, being really aggressive under that Nexus, and Luch just finishing it off with a really nice Q, and he's scaled nicely. Well, in fact, both of them have.
He has scaled very nicely. The fact that he's opted into the damage this game instead of a slower scaling build with the Archangel Staff or anything like that, straight into the Death Cap, working on a Void Staff now. You compare that to what Katie has. He's got working on his Zonias right now, but he went for the Abyssal first with Morello's. Not as big an impact as the Xerath right now in fights.
No, definitely not. And we look at that top lane again with the unsuspecting pick of Gragas, and he's picked up a Lichbane with the needlessly large rod. A lot of AP damage coming through, but in form, Lush is so tanky.
Lush, yeah, very tanky up there on the Maokai. He has basically only got defensive items right now. He opted away from the Rod of Ages because the lane was, I guess there was a lot of damage coming out. He couldn't afford to go for a Rod of Ages. Sticking with that Righteous Glory. He's going to be doing a lot. He's going to be able to tank a lot, but I don't know how much it will be up against an 11,000 gold lead in favor of BPO.
And that is absolutely awesome. And we talked about this before as Katie gets stunned looking for the engage and absolutely bursted down by Luch. And now Jakey's taking the brunt of the damage, but it doesn't matter as he wants to re-engage this against Luch. And other Luch is coming in. He's deciding enough's enough. He pops the ult there. A lot of damage going down. A nice spot by Maokai. But Lucci, he finishes off that
That was
kill.
so well played by the Xerath. He recognized exactly when Katie was going to come out of that claw. Stunned him perfectly. Had the Sejuani to follow up. Instantly died. Katie is having a very tough game to have an impact.
And Luce being so tanky as the Maokai, he just got bursted a bit too quick.
Yeah, the damage, it's an 11k gold lead right now. The damage that they're doing is ridiculous. They're most likely going to end this game, and it looks like it's going to be 2-0 to BPO.
Just such a force to be reckoned with as we see best players Ocean knocking down this Nexus. Not much they can do. A nice ult from Gragas to finish it off. And Chippy's once again impressing us, but he's not the only one.
Yeah, definitely impressing us. He showed that he has what it takes in that top lane. He can play whatever champion. You ban his Aurelia, does not matter.
It does not matter, definitely not. And as we see down in the bottom lane, Zeratol, he picked Graves and he surprised us so well. And it's just such a great team comp to see that. And it's such a great game to see that. BPO take it out for 2-0. So make sure you join us for the next game of the OCS with Chaos versus Bang. It's going to be just as good as this one. Stick around. Welcome back to the OCS of Day 2. My name is Jake Hysterix, Aussie Penko, here with Zach Rusty Pie. After having such a great game, we're looking forward to the next one.
Definitely looking forward to the next one, mate. It's going to be another massive series. Hopefully this one goes to the wire. This time we don't get another 2-0 game like the last one.
Yeah, a lot of competition in that last game, but moving on to the next one between Chaos and Bang, we're seeing some maybe familiar players coming out.
There's definitely a familiar player coming out of a team known as Bang Esports. You might know him. His name is Minky Whale, and he has had a massive history in esports in Oceania.
Quite a great player, and it's great to see him coming into this, but hopefully he has some synergy with the rest of his team.
Well, Minky has a point to prove. He was in Legacy, Team Legacy in the OPL at the moment. He got benched for Tallywhacker, and now he's back. He's in the Challenger ladder. He has a point to prove. He wants to show everyone that he has what it takes to be in the OPL, and here he is now.
So he's looking for a bit of redemption, Rusty. So we're going to have to keep an eye on him, aren't we?
Definitely got to keep an eye on him. That's the power player of Bang for sure.
And Chaos and Bang, of course, new teams coming into here, so not too much there, but hopefully we can observe some plays and see some special little techniques like we did with the last game.
Yeah, definitely. They're all new teams. The Challenger ladder has mostly brought about new teams, and you'll see a lot of the synergy may or may not be there. We're not entirely sure just yet, but what we do know is that they are all mechanically amazing players. Their decision making is on point, and we can only hope that they can utilize that in a 5s game.
And of course, with this new patch being out for not so long, maybe there's some little hidden techniques that we might find, like the new item Luden's Echo, that might be utilized in a totally different way that, of course, we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, there's a few changes that have come out that may help Bang Esports here. We do know that one of them likes to become a huge dragon, so we're hoping that may come through again. And other changes such as Luden's Echo, you may see it come out. We don't entirely know what's going to be used yet. It's all interesting.
And I don't think we'll see picks like last game from the Gragas, who was a bit of a surprise pick, but you never know, because junglers at the moment and top laners, they're both surprising us, aren't they?
That's right. With the recent patch, you see people who go the Cinder Hulk item. It's opened up the versatility of junglers a little bit, and you're seeing a lot more come out that you normally wouldn't have seen. Same with AD carries. You're seeing the Lucian come back. You're seeing a lot of different things happening in the latest patch, and it's very exciting.
And coming back to Minky a little bit there, we see him in the top lane, I believe, and what's a little bit about his playstyle?
Minky's a very unique player. He does things that, from experience playing with him, you don't really expect him to do. He likes to get Mejis if he's ahead, so maybe look out for that one. He's a bit of a character.
As we do move into Champion Select now, and Aurelia the first ban once again, and Minky looking to ban the next one, but Aurelia getting taken out of the top lane early.
I think it goes without saying that they are very aware of Minky's ability to play Aurelia. He's a very scary player on that Aurelia, and definitely get that away from him.
And Kalista getting the first ban for Bang Esports, and Needly getting the second ban there.
Yeah, Kalista and Nidalee are both very strong champions. Definitely worth taking away from anyone having, unless it's you with the first pick looking to get that.
And Ahri, of course, the fourth ban there. Bang Esports getting rid of the Ahri, and there's a lot of damage potential in the mid with the Ahri, so maybe a good pick.
Yeah, it's also a very different playstyle, having the Assassin with 3 dashes coming out. Getting rid of that, most likely a target pick, but also a very strong champion as well.
And Sivir, of course, getting taken out, and LeBlanc once again, so a lot of focus toward those AP mid assassins for Bang, getting rid of them, but that's a really good pick there.
Yeah, getting rid of LeBlanc may be targeted, but LeBlanc in general is just way too strong. And getting rid of that is just a smart decision across the board. Having already gotten rid of Ahri, let's get rid of another champion that has a lot of mobility. Maybe pick a hyper carry in mid in response, knowing that there's 2 of them banned.
And the mid laner for Chaos might have to be careful. If that was his favorite sort of playstyle, he could have just been solid out there.
That's right. And coming into the first pick here, you may see them want to pick up a flex. I've said it before, but Lulu or Morgana, very strong flexible picks, and you might want to get that out of the way here first.
It's just so it can't get countered, but we do see the Lysandra getting picked up first. A very good confidence pick there.
Yeah, and it's exactly the same principle. Can be played in 2 lanes, doesn't reveal what your team code wants to do just yet, but it is strong as they respond with maybe a Morgana.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. A bit of lockdown for the Lysandra before the Glacial Path can take effect, and before that devastating ult takes control of your team.
Yeah, we did see a bit of that even in the last game. Morgana being able to deny Lysandra's initiation whenever she wants to come in. If you're aware and you're on point, very smart play.
And Morgana still being hovered there as the time comes down. Not too much to select for since all the mid lane assassins are coming out, but I would like to see a Morgana middle someday.
Yeah, and you may even see a Hecarim picked up here now I think about it. Minky does play a lot of Hecarim, it's available, and he loves his Ignite teleport top laners, so that could happen right now.
And lucky he's not banned, because we might see an interesting top lane then, as now Seb moves to a bit of a hover of Zed.
I know that Midbeast has played a bit of Zed in his time. He definitely loves that champion, very proficient on that. and having locked that in is a confidence pick.
Yeah, Morgana, of course, being locked in there as well as we move back to Chaos. And whether it's a confidence pick again, like the Sejuani, which was a huge hyper carry in that jungle.
Yeah, Sejuani being hovered here, a very good jungler. We've said it before and we'll say it a million times. The inability to die as a jungler, as a tank, with all of this crowd control to back it up is such a big deal, and definitely a smart pick.
And a nice ban coming back to it to Bang, who have gotten rid of the AP carries and those AP mid laners that are so good at assassinating and picking a Zed that gets rid of all your options there.
Yeah, so they've gotten rid of 2 assassins and then they've picked Zed. So it's very hard to kill a LeBlanc as Zed because she can just become invisible. She can do a lot of weird dashing around everywhere, chains. You never really know what she's going to do. It's very hard to kill her, very hard to get onto her. Same with Ahri. So getting rid of those 2 and picking Zed, you're saying there's not many choices for you now. You're most likely going to have to deal with the Zed's full ultimate.
And Graves and Sejuani being picked up by Chaos. And that's another solid pick, as Sejuani's such a favorited playstyle.
Yeah, Graves, very, very aggressive, very angry, lots of mid game. You just want to be in there and do as much damage as possible. So they might pick a support that will complement that. We'll see what they'll do. Right now, hovering the Tristana. You don't often see Tristana at all, and we haven't seen it once in the OCS just yet. So it'd be very, very cool to see that pick.
It'd be a surprise pick, especially after we saw something like Gragas before, but moving to Tristana, that'd be an interesting pick, especially for their team composition.
Yeah, look, we've seen Gragas, we've seen everything so far. I'm hoping that they do pick the Tristana. It's a massive hyper carry. You couple that with the Zed, it's actually quite smart, but I think they will go with the Corki here over that.
The Corki and the Lee Sin with 1 second left to go. The Lee Sin does get locked in, and Shinny does pick the Corki in the end, which is going to be some huge potential damage early.
Yeah, and it also tells a story about what they're looking to do with their team comp right now. Having picked the Corki, very mid-oriented, they've got the Zed who's probably going to split in the mid-game. Morgana to assist the Corki. They're most likely going to group and try and fight, or keep the rest of CE busy while they take the entirety of their base with the Zed split pushing, being able to 1v1. They're just looking to win the mid-game.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you want to do. And when teams get ahead in that mid-game stage, it can often lead to such a huge late-game stage, or maybe an early finish, as we do see the Sion maybe popping up there with the Janna, and Sion is so huge at the moment.
Sion is massive. I don't think there's a game where we haven't seen a banned or picked so far. It does so much for a team. It's just immovable and just does so much damage early game. It's just so hard to deal with.
And look at how cheeky they're being with a Teemo. That would be an interesting pair of colours. When you've seen Teemo, you've seen everything.
Yeah, I certainly don't think they'll go with that Teemo. They're waiting for a support at the moment. They actually switched to the Hecarim, and I really do like that decision. It's taking it away from Minky. We still don't know if it's the top laner left to pick. There is the Morgana flex, but taking the Hecarim away, it's a really good decision to get rid of that from Minky.
Minky might be sitting there banging his fist on the table after that one, as we see the Hecarim picked in there, and Leona with a lot of CC coming towards Chaos.
They have a lot of CC, they have a lot of engage, they've got a lot of front line, and they still have a lot of damage. They scale very well. They've got a good early, mid, and late game. Very well-rounded team comp that can do anything.
Yeah, and with that team comp, we see the last pick coming up for Bang with 30 seconds remaining. How they can complement or how they can counter some of these huge picks from Chaos is going to be really crucial.
That's right, and they're most likely going to pick the top laner here, and knowing Minky, it could be anything in the world. We don't actually know what he's going to do just yet, so we'll have to wait and see what Minky picks.
And hopefully it complements that Corki and that Zed, who are really good with singular targets, and Corki, especially with that phosphorus bomb damage early, it might get the Bang into a bit of a lead.
Yeah, and hovering the Maokai, it's going to be a very hard lane for a Hecarim to just outright win. Hecarim tends to win most lanes, but the Maokai is very strong in its own right. It's got a lot of sustain. It has a surprising amount of damage in the early game, and Hecarim, who likes to rush that cooldown reduction as quick as possible, is going to have to opt to the Spirit Visage, and the magic resistance doesn't give you the cooldown reduction early. So if you can force him to be behind, it might work out for the mid game pretty well.
So Minky going on that Maokai against a Hecarim top with the teleport and ignite, which we've talked about in so many games, and it's a bit cheesy.
It's cheesy, but there's no reason not to take it. We've said it before, the Ignite does so much damage. You don't really need a flash, you don't need a ghost. You're a Hecarim. You can kind of just press E and run so fast that it does not really matter.
And if it's like previous games where we've seen Hecarim just rummage over players, and he pretty much bursts down in the early stages, and if he gets ahead, he's running fast.
If the Hecarim ever gets ahead, it's a scary sight to see. I've seen Hecarims that get ahead go with Zephyr just for the extra move speed. And I certainly hope that he doesn't have to do that this game and he doesn't get so far ahead that it's just too scary and overwhelms Bang.
Yeah, Zephyr would be something to add on top of the trees pole. Is it a favourite pick for Maokai for Minky Welder?
I don't think it's a favourite pick, but I do think he's quite competent on that champion. He's known to play a lot of things, very versatile. We'll see how it goes, but he's definitely not looking to outright carry the game. He's looking for his team to do most of the groundwork while he's just this immovable front line.
And who's going to win in these early stages? We see the Hecarim coming out with the early damage, but having said that as well, the Maokai, he's a bit of an unstoppable object.
Well, it may come down to who teleports better as to who wins the early game. We do know that they have the potential to teleport anywhere and do so much damage between either of the champions, Maokai or Hecarim. It'll come down to if they do it at the same time, who goes first maybe, or who does it better in general.
Yeah, and of course, if Corky makes himself a bit readily available, we might see an early team fight with these team comps.
Yeah, definitely. We want to see probably Corky getting the Trinity Force before he starts to group. You might see him even try and split push a little bit before getting that Trinity Force. It's actually the same with Hecarim. Their spikes come at a very similar time. Once they get that Trinity Force and they ramp up a lot, they're going to probably want to group at that stage and do a lot of damage. So they may even clash at the same time with the same spike.
Yeah, and Lissandra could be a bit of a threat as well for Chaos, but the mid matchup between Zed and Lissandra, not something you often see, but who's winning it at the moment?
Well, the fact that they picked Zed after Lissandra, you weren't entirely sure where Lissandra was going to go. You can assume mid if you're picking Zed, is that Lissandra doesn't often, they say that Lissandra counters Zed. I don't know if I believe that, but I do think that it's a good pick against the Zed because you can just ultimate yourself and the pop won't actually do any damage.
Yeah, and it might come up to skill in the end, who can play the better role. And Lissandra, known for roaming a bit with that glacial path.
Definitely can be matched by Zed, though, in terms of roaming capabilities. Zed, very good. Likes to get Mobos, maybe, if they're winning lane. They feel like they're maybe even losing lane. They just need to have an impact somewhere across the map. A lot of potential for roaming from the mid and the top laners now. And there could be a lot of action going on in the bot lane from start to finish.
And if there's so much action going on, you've got to question how objectives are controlled, such as Dragon, which has actually made games in the past.
Yeah, Dragon is a big deal, and it's very big win objective for a lot of teams. If they start to get the first and second Dragon uncontested, they start to realize that, hey, maybe if we just get 3 more Dragons, we're going to become unstoppable regardless of what's happening across the map.
And no teams just yet have made it to the 5 Dragons, which is so much burn damage. So if the game does go long enough, we might see that as the deciding factor.
Yeah, we're actually yet to see a team make it to 5 Dragons. I think there was maybe 1 in the first day, but hitting that objective is such a big deal, but it's very hard to do because that is 6 minutes between every dragon, and you need 5 of them. That's a lot of time dedicated to setting up and doing the dragons.
And a lot of that control is going to come from the supports where a lot of them are engaging, and especially with Morgana in the bottom lane against a Leona, it's going to be about whoever hits their engage first, whether it's the Zenith Blade or the Duck Binding.
Yeah, that's right. And the thing with Leona and Graves against the Morgana and Corki is that if Morgana does hit the bind first, they're going to take a lot of damage, but Leona can respond and throw out that Zenith Blade, and there's just going to be a lot of return damage. They're basically just going to trade a lot, they're going to butt heads a lot, and there's just going to be everyone low in bot lane, and that's why there may be a lot of action coming from mid and top roaming.
And I mean, Graves really, he benefits from early low carries where he can just go in and he still early game has a lot of burst.
Yeah, he wants to try and bully people out of lane, Graves. He has a lot of burst, he doesn't have a lot of damage over time at level 3 or 6 when he starts to become very strong. You kind of want to bully them out, you want to take control, do things like that, but it's not always that easy, especially when you're up against a Morgana.
And a Lee Sin in the jungle as well, who might have a bit more to say in that bottom lane. And really, Serb, he's going to put a lot of pressure down there.
Definitely, a lot of pressure needs to go towards that bot lane. I'm going to say it a lot this game, most likely, because I am predicting that's where most of the action will happen. So I look forward to actually seeing that unfold.
And it's great to see Lee Sin coming back into the jungle after so long, since he's been zoned out by these Sejuanis and these Rek'Sais especially.
Yeah, you haven't seen much Lee Sin lately. There's definitely been a bigger rise in other champions, such as your Sejuanis and your Rek'Sais, your Nidalees, all of the different, like a different champion pool kind of came into the jungle with the last patch. But Lee Sin's still very relevant. And if you are a good Lee Sin, you're always going to have a big impact.
And how's the outplay going to go in that jungle, since Sejuani is facing off against Lee Sin, and it's going to be a bit of a tank versus a bit of an assassin, bit of a roamer.
Yeah, so there is a chance that Lee Sin may try to invade the jungle of the Sejuani, try and control what she's doing and deny her ability to farm. It's very hard to get to that level 4 stage without having to back first the Sejuani, so maybe Lee Sin can have an impact there.
A lot of jungle pressure there as we move into the first game between Chaos and Bang. It's going to be a whopper of a game as we see a lot of pressure going all around the map, and a bit of a nice fan in the start.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to have another fan start. Maybe place some wards here and there and prevent teams from either 2v1 lane swapping, which is very common at the moment, placing wards to stop that, or just get vision and stop them from trying to invade the jungle whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of wards going in that mid lane, just getting vision of the early mid gamers. And Seb, he's going to play a lot of pressure in that early game.
Yeah, he'll definitely be applying a lot of pressure. It's what he has to do to get ahead in this game. Bang want to get ahead. They want to win the early game, get ahead in the mid game so they can really control what happens from there. If they don't get ahead before the mid game, they'll have to try and control the mid game. It'll be a little bit harder to do for them.
And it looks like we are setting up for standard lanes, although Leona in the middle and Shinny and What the Goat with a great name just positioning down bottom.
Yeah, they're still just fanned out at the moment. You see Maokai starting with the Wolves. Hecarim going to start with the Wolves as well on the other side. Both going to do the same thing as we saw last game. Kill the camp, recall, go to lane level 2.
And we're coming up to 1 minute 30 here as the game starts to kick off. And Maokai once again doing that camp to get a bit of experience. Same with Matrix there.
Yeah, it's becoming a very standard thing. I think we'll find that the junglers don't necessarily need that extra camp to get a level anymore. It's only a really small camp, a rather insignificant one in that regards. So getting a free level 2 from it is a big deal for top laners, because if you're up against someone who doesn't get it, as we see how much damage that sapling toss actually does.
Oh, so many pumpkins just sitting on the ground waiting for those wolves, and a lot of damage might set him up early and some nice lifesteal to keep him alive.
Yeah, and the thing is, I guess, Maokai definitely wants to do that camp. He wants to get level 2, but Hecarim doing it as well. It's not an easy lane, level 1, if you are Maokai. So both of them doing it, it actually works out quite well for the Maokai realistically.
Yeah, Minky going to use that to his advantage as mid base just pushing against, and no real gold lead to start off, nor disadvantage for any of the teams, so a bit of an early farm.
Yeah, Maokai getting to lane first, might be able to pick up an extra CS or 2 that Matrix is going to miss. That comes down to the sapling toss doing a lot of extra damage, whereas Hecarim's is a slow ramp up, reducing cooldown reduction with each one he hits.
Yeah, he can't really prep that much for the camp when he doesn't have anything that sits on the ground like Maokai does, and Minky used that to an advantage and got an early lane as the Dark Binding misses down the bottom.
Yeah, they got level 2 first. They were trying to push an advantage, and if they hit that bind, a lot of damage was going to come out, but well duked by the team of Chaos Esports.
Yeah, and Minigorofin, he wants to dodge this, but the bind comes out and a lot of early damage against him, and that's half his health gone.
Yeah, it's a very hard lane to be in if you don't get level 2 first, as the Graves and Leona. You can see the pressure that they're emitting as a Corki and Morgana right now is phenomenal, and if they can continue to do that, Graves may not even have an impact in the early laning phase. Look at his health right now, and he's used his pot.
And he's already been pushed out just a little bit. What the Goat putting a lot of pressure on. Although they're already at half mana, so you've got to think, is the pressure worth it in the end? And it might just be if they can secure first blood.
Well, Morgana's going to have a mana pot, I believe, so she's going to be able to continue to do that. It's what Morganas do best. They sit in the bush, they get mana pots, so they continuously use spells and try and push Graves out of lane in this case.
And Seb trying to get his blue, but Zulan, he wants something a part of that. And Minky just doing a bit of zoning with the sapling.
And this is exactly what we thought might happen. Seb has a stronger early game than the Sejuani. He's going to look to push him out, and they may try and steal this.
As Saw just focuses his efforts around there, but he's going to go back in, and a nice bit of a steal from Seb.
Yeah, even mid-beast rotating there to deny the Sejuani any chance of actually getting that buff. No chance of a steal, or he would have died for that. So smartly backing off, but a very good decision from Bang there to stop him from getting a blue buff at all.
Yeah, good team effort as Minky trades off with Matrix, who's doing quite a bit of damage to him in return, but Minky's not going down without a fight as he's taking quite a lot of damage. But that life steal there helps him out as the charge comes in and pushes him off, but he's still being a bit cheeky.
Yeah, Hecarim, once he has those 2 stacks on his Q, becomes a helicopter, does ridiculous amounts of damage in the early game, and it's something that you have to respect. Now, Minky was coming in, there's a lot of CS there, so as long as he doesn't get any lower, he'll be okay.
Oh, but here comes the engage from Saw down the bottom. The Zenith Blade missing, losing that opportunity, but Shinny forced a Valkyrie out.
That was a smart gank, you know. It's probably not expected given that he just had his blue denied from him. Definitely an erratic decision on the fly, and it worked out almost really well.
Yeah, Seb just picking up the Wolves there. Some nice level scaling so far in comparison to Saw, who's only level 3, but making some nice lane pressure.
And also a very smart reaction from the Lee Sin there, noting that the Sejuani was bottom, came into the jungle of the Sejuani, taking the Wolves away. Just another camp away from the Sejuani, and he's level 3 still.
And he's going to make an appearance top, but it is warded, so he might have to back off this one. As we see an engage down the bottom, as Minigorofin taking a lot of damage from Shinny, but What the Goat looking for another binding, does in fact miss it. Now Skid Life is taking full opportunity to push Corki out. The exhaust goes off on him, forcing yet another Valkyrie.
And that's just the natural strength of the bot lane of a Graves and a Leona. If they can hit spells or anything, it hurts so much. And it's reliant on Morgana hitting binds for that bot lane to go well for the Corki matchup. But if they don't, like they didn't, really bad.
And Mini Gorfin taking a lot of damage from Morgana's pool there, and it's just a lot of base damage where he can pressure him out of lane.
Yeah, so they've done extremely well to even be in the lane where they are now, given the fact that he had to use a pot so early, and he had half health even after that pot was used. So extremely well done by them, utilizing the relic shield stacks to keep health on the Graves.
And the shield coming out from Skidlife to protect Mini Gorofin, but Shinny and Mini are both very low, so it's really up to the supports and how they make an engage down this bottom lane.
Yeah, it is going to come down to what the supports do at the moment. I don't think either of them will look to trade unless the support gets an ideal engage that'll just work out for them perfectly, like now.
And Saw makes that opportunity a reality as the Dark Binding goes off, but here's Seb with perfect timing straight down there as Saw still wishes to engage. A lot of damage coming out, but he's taking a lot himself as all three members from both sides are very low. Bang and Chaos got to time this perfectly.
Yeah, so it was a good engage, but we see Willaris come in here.
Oh, Willaris, perfect timing as the ult goes off, not taking too much damage to kill, and that just makes the succession all so much easier as Chaos picks up their first 2 kills.
That was such a good roam by Willaris. He came in at the perfect time. They were all extremely low from that trade. Nobody died up until he came in, and it really forced them into an awkward position where they had to try and do something, and they just fell for it.
And such great roam from that mid laner who's now a couple of CS behind, but has that kill to get the Seeker's armor guard.
Yeah, has the kill and the assist, and is going to buy some armor. Zed definitely still going to be big, even though he didn't roam with the Lissandra.
But mid B still having about 20 CS, so going to go back now and picking up the longsword, which turns into a cutlass pretty quick, and a lot of damage coming out.
You know, it's worth pointing out at this stage that Minky is actually 20 CS ahead of the Hecarim. And we saw them fighting before, and it was going in favor of the Hecarim. So it's obviously turned around very quickly in favor of Maokai.
And Minky a level ahead of Maokai, so there must be a lot of forced exposure out of lane as Minky pops the ult just to push it forward, and his CS capabilities at the moment are fantastic.
Yeah, he's on point with the last hitting right now. It's actually grown to a 30 CS lead as we say that. Hecarim not having the teleport or just choosing not to use the teleport to get to lane. Instead opting to buy the boots, he's going to rush Merc Treads, get probably Home Guards after that, and then he's just going to be able to recall whenever he's low, come back to lane with Home Guards.
Already having the magic resist there to counter it, so it must be a pretty evil matchup in that top lane. So Matrix might have to be a bit careful as What the Goat clearing a bit of vision, getting ready for that first dragon.
Yeah, trying to control the dragon area. It's around 8 minutes. It's a good time to look at least denying Chaos a chance of being near it.
And Chaos as Saw gets his red buff. He's a bit low, so might not be the best time to get his red as the red side look to be setting up for a dragon, and What the Goat zoning quite nicely.
Yeah, and the reaction from Chaos there was to actually get a ward down. Recognizing that they lost all control, they needed something to know that they weren't doing it. And it causes a lot of health to be taken there.
And Chaos playing quite nicely in this early game stage, already picking up the 2 kills, which has given them such a good advantage. And you might see them challenging this dragon as we see already from Bang, there is a gold lead, but purely because of CS.
Yeah, it's 2-0 right now in kills, but that's the Chaos. It was at least hit the Sonic Wave here.
A nice Sonic Wave, not going to finish it up with a resonating strike on Saw, noticing that everyone's grouped, so a good decision.
Yeah, probably not a situation you want to follow it in, but mostly since you get that really big feeling that you have to do it, so very well disciplined to not follow that one.
Of course, definitely, since when Lee Sins always play a bit cocky and think, I'm going to go in anyway. So the resonating strike with a bit of cockiness behind it, we'll see that a bit later, hopefully.
Yeah, so it's nice to know that he is modest then, isn't it? Otherwise,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
could have gone badly.
Bambi Cinder getting picked up by Saw, so that's going to be a bit of damage coming around for the cams, a bit more clear speed. Whereas in relation, we've got Seb, he's already picked up a couple of long swords.
Yeah, having the Rangers Trailblazer with the BAM is going to help so much in the jungle, and this is that period where Sejuani can pretty much freely do the jungle without taking too much damage at all. Every time you smite, you're going to get so much health back. Bambi Cinder really slows you down from dying, and you do camps a lot quicker.
And of course, when it gets upgraded to the Cinderhawk, we see so much more damage coming through as well. And Sejuani's just going to roam through those camps and hopefully take back control a little bit of his jungle, which he's been losing. As we see, Skid take quite a lot of aggro from Shinny.
Yeah, Corki being level 7 now has that ultimate available, and he's starting to do a lot of damage. He's got the Sheen built right now, so he's opting towards auto attacks after hitting spells, not the Phage.
And he can do that so confidently since Bang have so much ward coverage. Look at the river. It's only red there. We've got about 1 Chaos ward in there, but everything else it's all Bang.
Yeah, so we can see a Scuttlebug and 2 wards in the barren side of the river for Chaos, but the rest of it is entirely Bang. They have complete control of the Dragon area, and that is the area you need to look this early in the game, opposed to the top side of middle.
And Saw just walking through that mid lane saying, I'm still here, so don't you dare come out. As we see an engage come down from the bottom as Matrix goes straight on Shinny. The Solar Flare comes out, but so does the binding from What the Goat, who wants to take out Matrix, but it's not meant to be. As Skid Life as well, they both back off.
Yeah, the teleport was really clever. They tried to engage, forced the Spell Shield on Morgana, and he went on the Corki instead, so it was a good decision. But it was a little bit too early, a bit premature on the teleport, and there was no chance for the Sejuani to come in to assist either.
Yeah, and the damage is still being popped out against Mini, who's taking so much aggro and has been for the last 11 minutes, I guess. And his CS lead does show that, where he's losing by about 15 CS in that bottom lane. As Seb does miss the resonating strike, Saw might have to pop his ult to get out of this situation. It's now a 4v1 against Saw, and Microfin, he doesn't want to get in there, so What the Goat picks up the kill.
Yeah, and you can see the difference between the teleports right there is they have a little bit of a trade in the mid, but nothing to speak of. They should be able to get this dragon right now. Minky's teleport had a lot of impact. Hecarim's teleport was mediocre.
So Mini down in that bottom lane, he saw what was going on there, and he made a really good judgment call not to get involved. So he just put up a smoke screen, and there's the first dragon for Red Team.
Yeah, first dragon, very easy dragon to take for them. They had a very good fight there. The teleport coming out. You can see the CS lead even in the top lane right now. It's having a big impact on this game.
Yeah, already having that gold lead with Bang just from pure CS, and that kill helps as well, giving about 1.3k for the time being. So a lot of pressure coming through from Bang.
Yeah, that's right. They've got a lot of pressure across the map, and that's translating due to the fact that they have a lot of vision control. So definitely a lot of damage potential, a lot of scary things coming out of them right now, and we'll look to see how they turn that into a mid-game advantage.
Yes, Minky still continues the farm game, 102 to 59. That's nearly double at the time being.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically double, and that is a very scary amount if you were the Hecarim. Hecarim really wants to start to scale and be a lot more relevant in the mid-game, finish that Trinity Force as soon as possible, having only got the Merc Treads right now with a Health Crystal.
And Seb's still doing so well for himself in fading that jungle and taking advantage of Sejuani's low clear rate, I guess, for the time being. But since the Cinder Hulk is nearly getting picked up, we might see a bit of a pullback there.
Yeah, Sejuani does have a fairly slow clear, but that's mostly due to the fact that the pressure that Lee Sin has applied in that jungle really slows that down.
Definitely, as we move to a pause there, but Minky Whale in the top lane as Maokai, he's really impressing us for the time being, especially with that huge CS lead.
Yeah, that huge CS lead is actually going to have a really big impact coming into this mid-game. We said it in the start of the game, they've got that Corki, they've got a lot of mid-game champions, and if they have a lead this big coming into the mid-game, it's going to make it a lot worse for Chaos to have to deal with.
And it's so aggressive playing that Hecarim, especially when Matrix took the Ignite and Teleport, and he wanted to be the aggressor early, but it just didn't work out for him so far.
Yeah, it didn't really work out in his favor, and he did try. You have to give him a lot of credit there. He did a lot of unexpected weird things, but just not to be.
Yeah, definitely. As we look at Seb and the Sejuani matchup once again from Sir, and Sejuani is such a force once again.
Yeah, Sejuani is a big force. You can see she's been trying to do a lot of impact into the game, mostly in the bot lane. And now that might be the problem, is that they've got the Morgana there. They've got the spell shield coming out. It's really hard to actually kill them when they're saving that spell shield for the Sejuani to come in.
And looking at that pick again from Sir, he came down the bottom lane and Bang would just collapsed on him with a beautiful teleport from Minky. And now that 4-for-1 down there, that just took so much advantage of possibly a bad gank.
Yeah, that's right. The Hecarim came in, he tried to push something, he needed to do something. He recognized that a teleport had to come out at some stage to get them an advantage in this lane, just to get a foot in the door even of an advantage. And it just didn't go to plan. They didn't get a kill from it. The reaction from Minky came about a minute later, or half a minute later, where his teleport had a really big impact.
Yeah, and Minky with so much map pressure and so much map awareness, you got to think that in team fights you might see this teleport behind the enemy, and that would make for such an awesome team fight with a Maokai just brute forcing all the carries.
Well, that's what a Maokai's really good at if he's allowed to get really far ahead. He might get the Rod of Ages here, I believe. He's already got the blasting one. It's going to work towards that. But from there, he's going to be an immovable tank, and it's going to be very scary to see how this does translate into the mid-game.
As we do move back in the game now, after a small little pause for the players, but What the Goat there gets engaged on by Saw, and we're straight back in the action as trying to force a binding and gets force flashed over the wall.
Yeah, had to force the flash out of him, so it was very well played by Chaos Esports there to force that spell, but nothing's going to come from it.
No, and What the Goat playing very aggressively. These Morganas we see are using so much pressure with their binding.
Yeah, Morganas, every Morgana that we have seen so far, very proficient at that champion. They all know how to pressure the lanes, to have a really big presence in the game as a support it's such a big deal.
And definitely at this level, that's what you should be doing with Shinny and Mini down the bottom lane. Love saying that, but they're going at it again.
They are going at it again, and it's starting to go a little bit in the favor of Shinny here.
And there's the resonating strike, not quite, as I was going to say, but Skid Life missing the Zenith Blade, and not quite.
Yeah, not quite. Yes, not quite. He's not going to be able to get anything if the Zenith Blade misses. Could have initiated with the ultimate, but it's a bit of a risk, and it's not worth throwing it out on the chance that it does miss.
Yeah, and as the Resonating Strike didn't come in there, we could have seen a bit of a outplay from Chaos, where Skid Life is using his Zenith Blade quite nicely. There's the burst damage from Willaris, and Mid Beast a trade for 1-for-1. Mid laner going down, and Seb going down as well as what the GOAT escapes.
Yeah, Willaris managing to get a kill out of that was really good for him. He did a lot of damage there on the onto the Lee Sin. It's just that the trade was there, and a kill's actually now gone onto the Zed, and that's getting very scary.
And Zed, of course, that farm working for him so well. There's his first kill with the Brutalizer and the pickaxe, and even the Cutlass that might be finished into a Blade of the Ruin King quite soon, or maybe the last Whisper.
Definitely. He's devoted himself right now towards farming the game. He has 157 CS at 1450, so he's just like before with Luch, very far ahead in CS. He's committed himself towards getting a big item before actually roaming and joining the team to have a really big impact.
And of course, Willaris with 2 kills already. That Zhonya's with the ult. It's such a good combination for Lissandra. Yeah,
Lissandra having the Zhonya's first is an extremely smart decision. Up against the Zed, you don't have to use your ultimate now to stop the Zed from doing damage. You can use the Zhonya's, and you can ult the Zed if you like.
And what the GOAT, landing another binding on Mini, and he just takes a quarter of his health, just like that.
Yeah, Morgana's doing a lot of work still, having finished the Mobos, maybe looking to roam as Seb gets caught here.
Oh, Saw doing so much damage with that ult, locking him down there as he pops the Zhonya's with perfect timing for the Zed, or maybe not, as Mid Beast does get some damage off, but not enough to finish off the ult, as now Saw turns it back on him. But here's Minky, ready to fight, as Willaris, he's trying to get out of this fight, and now trying to push him out, but Matrix has popped down the bottom as well, and they're just going to disengage. One's enough.
Yeah, they actually managed to get the kill on Seb very quickly there. Didn't really get a chance for the Zed to have an impact. The ultimate did get Zhonya's a tiny little bit too early, but it didn't do any damage to mention. Minky came in, flashed and tried to get that twisted advance, but it didn't actually get in range from the flash, not to be.
And look at that Phosphorus Bomb burst from Sheeny down the bottom. Mini once again taken to his health, so he's going to have to keep buying pots and getting pressured out of lane as the blue turret goes down.
Yeah, Shiny doing a lot of work right now. He's almost got that Trinity Force. He has enough money for it. He just needs to go back and buy it. He's going to be able to get that most likely and boot. So this is a period in time where you see Maokai has the finished Rod of Ages, about a 50 CS lead. Zed, about a 40 CS lead. He's got that Cutlass. He's got the pickaxe. He's doing a lot of damage. And Corki is now spiked massively. They may look to group for a rotation, for an objective maybe, or just to like pick someone out and get a tower.
Especially since Corki is so huge with that Trinity Force, like you said. And we see Mini, who's yet to pick up his first item of the Infinity Edge. Only the BF Sword and the pickaxe. Not as much damage spikers would like to see there.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit longer for the Graves to catch up in terms of spiking, which is why I feel like it's the best idea for Bang right now to utilize that effectively, make the most of the difference in items, and really push an advantage and make something out of their mid-game comp in this mid-game.
And Midbeast coming down to the bottom lane, Just going to pressure off Mini, but he's going to stay near the turret and just get the farm, because at the moment, that's really what he's doing well.
Yeah, so here's the power play. They've put mid in the bottom, Mid-Beast rather, Zed in the bottom. They're going to put the AD carry and the support in the mid lane. They're going to try and siege this turret. The damage that the Zed's doing, they'll have to send the Lissandra to split against him, or he will kill the Graves. And then there's no real way for them to stop the Corki from pushing in without a Lissandra.
And Corki, of course, playing so aggressively against Lissandra, as we see Dragon coming up and Saw positioning at the backline for it as well. And Seb, he's just going around the front. He's going to try and get a couple of Sonic Waves off and hopefully finish with a Resonating Strike to really engage this battle.
Yeah, he's going to try his best to stop them from getting any control of the Dragon area, letting Mid-Beast push bottom in for one more wave. He's going to rotate now. He's going to group. They're going to try and take this Dragon, I feel.
And Saw still roaming out the back there. There is a ward to spot him in case he does try to jump in. Seb still pushing them off quite nicely, as he's none for 3, but he's still doing quite a lot of damage. And the Sightstone, a lot of vision pressure.
Yeah, so they've started the Dragon up with a Sonic Wave. You can see Chaos Esports are coming in here to maybe continue the Dragon just to stop them from doing it in the first place. But I don't know how much it's going to do. You can see Minky butting heads in the top lane with Hecarim to stop him from teleporting.
Yeah, and I mean, the first teleport might engage it here is the Maokai, of course, has a lot more CC than Hecarim, but that's not to say the damage won't come out from Matrix, who might see a teleport down here, and there's a big fight going over who gets Dragon first.
Well, looking at this at the moment, both of them can stop each other from teleporting. So there's a fair chance that Minky's just going to continue to pressure this top lane until he gets the turret, and it is getting very low, while the rest of the team 4v4 forced a weird predicament. You can see Zed's in the bottom right now, and they're doing Dragon as 3.
Yeah, of course, and Bang already having that first Dragon there. They're looking to steal the second one as a nice binding goes on Sort, zoning him off there, pulling him back to his blue buff, and Shinny still wants to get this Dragon as he's trying to drag it out of the pit, but now Chaos, they've seen this as an opportunity to take it, and they're still trying to go in the pit as Sword just tries to do it by himself, but Seb is well aware of this as Willaris tries to zone it off Bang. It's now down to 1,500. We're looking at a fight, but Blue Team do get it in the end, and Bang are going to have to back off this fight as Chaos are just shredding it down, and in the top lane as well, but we're still looking at Shinny, who is doing a lot of damage, trying to turn this around, and Sword doing so much of the frontal work as Willaris just coming through and cleaning up, and a nice flash from Shinny, but a nice Sonya's in turn from Willaris, and Shinny might be taken down. Here's not enough mana to pop the Phosphorus Bomb, but a nice magical bomb with the big one going on Willaris. Nice snipe.
Managing to hit that big one at the end made it a pretty big trade. You see, Zed wasn't actually there at the start of the fight. He didn't really get there in time to have the big impact that you could see that Lissandra was doing. And they ended up not getting the Dragon. Someone got caught out of position a little bit there. I think they don't have the bottom mid tower even, so that was a pretty bad trade all in all, except top is winning in its own.
And you got to think in that team fight how Corky probably timed that missile barrage, or either that or it was very good luck to have the big one there, and it pretty much did about almost 200 damage to Lissandra.
Yeah, I think it only took one rocket, regardless of big or small, to actually kill that Lissandra. She zone used the one prior, so she didn't have that available, and he was aware that he needed to try and kill her. He couldn't kill the Sejuani. So he gave it a crack, and it actually worked out for him.
And now looking at the gold lead after that, it's risen to about 5,000 gold, even with the kills going in Chaos's way. We're seeing one all in Dragon getting that 6% AD and AP, of course, and 3 turrets going to Bang, which is really giving this gold lead.
Yeah, and Dragon not giving gold anymore is really going to show that the lead is going to stay as it is, even if they got the Dragon and got a kill from it. So they're going to continue on the path of pushing the mid game. They've got the Corki Morgana mid still. Zed's going to split again. And if they don't send the Lissandra, as I said, it may come down really badly for them in the bot lane, with Zed being able to kill the Graves and take turrets freely.
And you're not going to be able to let Shinny, if they do want to start a team fight, Shinny can't be left alone here, especially with the Trinity Force and the huge damage he's pulling out. You can't leave him alone.
Yeah, Shiny cannot be ignored. He's got the Sork Shoes, he's got the Trinity Force and a Vamp Scepter, and he's doing ridiculous amounts of damage. He needs to be respected right now. You can see that rocket managing to hit Lissandra does do a fair amount of damage, given the low cooldown of it.
Yeah, look how much pressure he's putting on Shiny. A lot of damage to Willaris, so if he doesn't want to turn out like last time, he's going to have to be careful. It's a Sonic Wave hits Zor, but he's very tanky.
Now, the reaction from Chaos right now is to go to bottom. We can see that Mid Beast is pushing it. They may try and stop him from doing that, but again, if they don't send Lissandra, they may need to send 2 people. If they send 2 people, there's a chance that it could work out well for Bang in mid lane.
Yeah, and Bang, especially with the huge farming Zed. Look at Mid Beast farm. He's pretty much getting 10 CS a minute at least.
Yeah, he has 240 CS at 22 minutes. He's doing a lot of work, but most of it is translating into split pushing, and that's why his farm is so high. He hasn't actually rotated and grouped for a team fight too effectively just yet, so he's opting in towards just being more relevant in splitting.
And Skid Life and everyone looking for the kill here, but Matrix gets caught out by Bang, who now look for the opportunity on Saw, and he pops the ult, maybe not needed though, as a shutdown gold bonus goes straight to Seb.
And that's 2 kills and the blue buff, as they may try and look at getting a kill here in the bottom lane as well, and they're pushing top in reaction.
But in the top lane, they're going to push this turret down and really put some pressure in there. And both bottom laners are down in that bottom lane. So Mini getting taken out, the Leona getting taken out, and a double kill somehow going to Zed in that bottom lane. And that was absolutely amazing how he can 2v1.
Yeah, he's finished his Blade of the Ruined King and his Ghost Blade, and he managed to 2v1 while the rest of his team is splitting in the top lane. They just don't have an answer.
No, it must have been an awesome outplay as Zeb now engages on Willaris, who he's taking this opportunity but gets run over by Matrix, who's still doing quite a bit of damage. And now Saw doesn't want this turret to go down, but he doesn't know what can't hurt him will. And Bane goes straight in on Willaris, who pops the Zonyas, and Minky there, nearly getting Willaris, but going to survive a 2 kills going to Chaos.
Yeah, great Zonyas there from Willaris, managing to save himself there by the skin of his teeth. It was very close, and he very well could have died if it was half a second earlier or later.
And look how big Minky is at the moment. Although he did get taken out 1 for 2 with the Rod of Ages and 221 farm, he is so far ahead of Matrix.
You don't often see a Maokai with 220 CS at 23 minutes. It's definitely a force to be reckoned with. He doesn't have upgraded boots, but he does have the Frozen Heart. He just upgraded his boots now, I stand corrected. And he's got a Spectre's Cowl. He's immensely tanky. He will not take damage.
Yeah, and with someone like Midbeast behind him, you got to think it hit that they might be able to 2v4 at this stage with Zed before 1v2ing.
Yeah, I'd like to touch on that Zed a little bit. He's just picked up the Merc Treads, and he's going for a Cloth Armor, which is most likely going to be the Guardian's Angel. Now that he's finished his last Whisper, it's going to be a lot harder to keep him in the one spot with that Merc Treads. And going for the Guardian's Angel, he can 1v2 already. Before he bought that, he could 1v2.
And Midbeast doing so well for himself as Blade of the Ruined King, the Yomus, even the last Whisper, and the tenacity there just to stop the Leona in tracks. And Skid Life might be a bit fretting a little bit if he can't solo flare this set.
Yeah, now the game's going fairly slow at the moment. It's safe to say that the advantage is in Bang's favour, but they're doing it very slow and calculated in the way that they're pushing this game to an advantage even further. It could work against them.
Yeah, and Shiny, but a strong force to be reckoned with, but Chaos still might have a bit of advantage as we look at the wards again, and it has actually changed faces. We saw the red side, we saw Bang warding throughout both rivers and having such a dominance of wards, but at the moment it's actually quite even as Chaos look for this mid turret.
Yeah, they've managed to pick up the mid turret, you're right. The wards have started to spread out. Midbeast looking here to maybe kill the top laner, but can't really see what's happening. And they're going in at the mid at the same time as well.
Yeah, and they're going to have a bit of a pause here for the time being. And there's such great potential coming up from both teams now as we look at 9 kills all. And the gold lead is actually shortening a tiny bit by Bang.
Yeah, the gold lead has shortened a little bit. It's not a massive amount, but they did just pick up a turret. And it's going to help them a little bit where possible, you know. It's not going to be a massive thing. Bang still have control of the map. They still have vision in more offensive places. And that turret going down is going to help Chaos, but it's not going to turn the game around in their favor directly.
And I love how Hecarim sort of came back in after being out-farmed for the majority of the game. And he comes through and someone's at his turret and he just decides, hey, I'm going to run over you. And there's that huge burst we see again.
Yeah, Hecarim's always going to be relevant. He's got the Ignite. He has a lot of damage coming out of his spells. Even if he's behind in lane, he still has that Trinity Force right now. And that's a big spike for a Hecarim, so he's doing a lot of damage.
But in comparison, how's Minky with the roams and his huge map pressure at the moment and his CS advantage as well is absolutely huge as we do return to the game. And that gold lead just shortening a little bit as Shiny does get Sejuani out of there. And Skid Life is in a bit of a pickle there using the Zenith Blade to get out, but the burst damage is wicked.
Yeah, Sejuani actually getting caught out of position, I believe, right there, resulting in a Leona as well as Zed going in here.
Midbeast is proving himself quite nicely as the burst doesn't kill Willaris, but he does die instead.
Yeah, and they may try and still push this top inhibitor as a reaction to the fact that so much was used in preventing Zed from getting a kill, and there are members dead from Chaos.
And Banger now pushing down this inhibitor so well. There's so much pressure coming from them, and they're taking full advantage of the death from Skid Life there.
That's right. They have a numbers advantage, and they have a spell advantage, essentially. They know that so much was used to prevent the Zed from getting kills. Zed did go down, but they were still up a member because they caught 2 prior in mid.
And look at Mini coming out there. Sorry, Matrix, who was running so fast. And if you get caught by that Hecarim running his charge and his home guard, you're going to be in a bit of trouble.
You could tell that he wanted that farm in bottom too, didn't he? And Lissandra had to say, no, that is mine. She does need to catch up in farm a little bit. She needs those items. Does have a Morello's and a Zonia's, but definitely needing to work on either a Death Cap or a Void Staff.
Especially when you're competing against someone so influential like Midbeast. And once again, looking at that gold lead, we're looking at about maybe 3, maybe 8k at the moment. So that's a huge amount, but Chaos were a bit behind before they got that turret.
Yeah, we're looking at an 8k gold lead, but it's 6 towers to 1, and that is indicative of the lead. that and the CS.
Yeah, and Chaos just trying to get this dragon, but What the Goat has spotted them there, and Skid Life just going down. The resonating strike finishing him off there, as Minky now looks for Saw, who's getting pushed back, and Minky's so tanky that nothing can get past him, and Saw getting pushed back, and looks like they're going to get their second dragon.
Yeah, Minky just not fast enough to catch the Sejuani there. Sejuani just getting away, barely.
And look how much damage is coming out of Midbeast, who pretty much finished off Dragon from 3k HP in a limited number of seconds as Seb pops out before he gets caught.
Yeah, and absolutely blowing up the Leona at the Dragon as well, just prior. Leona trying to secure a bit of vision there. Zed saying not going to happen.
No, and Willara still trying to catch up in this mid lane, who's still behind in CS by about 70, but hopefully going to catch up as we see a bit of a siege coming from Bang towards the mid, really using their pressure quite nicely. And Willaris is going to have to pop out there, and there's the 7th turret for Bang.
Yeah, 7-1 in turrets right now. The only turret taken by Chaos is that mid one that they took at about 20 minutes, so not a whole lot going on for them in the earlier game. They did manage to get that tower, though. It was very smart. Their rotations are okay, but that top inhibitor going down, they could look at doing Baron.
Yeah, and that might be an interesting move by Bang, who have a bit of a Fed Lee Sin coming up, who's quite tanky, and a lot of damage coming out from Skyny and as well as Midbeast. But Midbeast is not really with his team. He's split pushing, but he's still getting kills.
He's doing what a Zed does at this stage of the game. He's got a lot of items. He's got a chain vest now on top of that instead of just a cloth armor. So his team can go and they can do Baron as they are right now. They can take that pretty much uncontested because it does require at least 2 people to stop Midbeast in the bot lane.
Yeah, and he's still down there. Midbeast doesn't care that much as the red team get Baron, and that's the first Baron for Bang, giving him a bit of a gold advantage. And look at that, we're looking at about 10.5k now.
Yeah, that's right. And Zed didn't even actually have to do anything. He just had to show his face in the bot lane and then back off. Got a free Baron buff for his troubles. And if he continues to stay in that bot lane and push, he's now got Baron minions to help him, like he was hard enough to stop as it is.
Yeah, Midbeast level 17. Look at that spike there. Compared to the rest of his team, we're looking at level 16, 12, 13, 12. That's nothing. He's huge.
Yeah, Minky being 16, Zed Midbeast being 17 is such a big influential factor. It's so hard to kill people that are that far ahead in levels. Their damage is ridiculous. And even champions like Maokai being this far ahead in levels translates into doing a lot more damage than you would normally be doing.
And Midbeast still looking for a pink down the bottom, being very persistent as Saw now looks at this opportunity to gauge on Minky, but Minky has taken full advantage of this. The Glacial Path gets Willaris away, and Minky still so huge. He's just going to roam around a bit as the bottom turret gets nice and pressured.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if Minky runs into even 3 of them at this stage. He's just going to be able to use the Twisted Advance, become untargetable. His team is nearby, and there's not a whole lot that Chaos can do right now to even stop them from pushing, as 2 are mid as well.
And that's a beautiful push from Shiny, but Willaris catches them in the act, and Shiny getting bursted down before he can do anything. Willaris just in that middle there, but doesn't matter because Minky's so tanky. He's zoning off Mini before he can do anything and doing a lot of damage against him. Minky's still in there as well as Leona gets bursted, and here comes Zed. Midbeast doing so much damage, and Saw gets taken down like he's nothing. That might be close to it.
Yeah, that may be close to the game ending right here. They just do not have an answer to the team fight and the tactics and decision-making the Bang are using right now. Having Zed to split push, they don't have an answer without throwing someone bottom that cannot assist them in the mid lane. And if they did that, they would have won mid lane. There's just no real answer.
And Willaris using the Glacial Path to get away while the rest of Bang siege this turret. And Matrix wondering whether to go in or not, whether he can keep this game alive. But it doesn't look like they'll be able to get the other Nexus turret just yet.
No, they're going to settle for having all 3 inhibitors down. They're going to grab a Nexus turret. They've only got the one of them. But it's going to be very easy for them to recall, maybe even just stay and wait for their Corki to come. And then just push in as 5. Overwhelm the base with all of the minions that they're now about to get and end the game out in a very regular, easy fashion.
And that inhibitor just spawning up there, but it doesn't matter because there's so much pressure from Bang. They might be able to get this as well as Skid Life looking for some opportunity to at least end the game, and he wants to go in on this as well as Willaris, and Saw's looking for an opportunity as well. They need to stay in this game as the Solar Flare comes out, and here comes Lissandra as well as Willaris looks for the perfect ult, and Shiny is just sitting in that back, and he gets ulted, but the cleanse comes out, saving him from that, and Willaris trying to survive with the Zonyas, but Saw doesn't protect him enough, and now they're just getting smashed down. There's the near ace, and Hecarim the only one alive for the time being, as he's all the way up at Baron.
Yeah, this is Chaos Esports saying that they need to do something right now or the game is going to end. So they gave it a go, they gave it all that they could, but it was not going to be enough in the end.
As Matrix just wants to get a final kill to lead it out, but that's it. There's the first game going towards Bang. What a beautiful play from them, especially from mid-base 2, was bursting so hard.
Yeah, very well executed by Bang Esports. They really showed that they have a lot of experience in working as a team, and they really used that well. They slow pushed the game out. The split pushing, it was all really on point, and they did very well.
So much potential there as we move to the next game. Now, make sure you join us for the OCS of Day 2 for the possibly last game, Bang vs Chaos. Welcome back to day 2 of the OCS. My name is Jake Hysterics Aussie Penko, here today, of course, with Zach Rusty Pie. And after such an awesome game between Chaos and Bang, we're looking forward to another one.
We're definitely looking forward to the next game. We really got to see what Bang has to offer right there. Very skillful display and a very valiant effort from Chaos Esports. We do know that they are capable of taking a game back.
Yeah, definitely. And so we can see if they can even out the score here, as Minky was providing a lot of damage taken with that Maokai.
Yeah, Minky was a big frontline. He could absorb a lot of damage. He did not take much at all. Even towards like the mid-game stages of that, he was able to 1v3, and it'd take 10 seconds odds to actually kill that guy. And then there was Zed, who was split pushing, being able to 1v2 by himself and get out alive and get a double kill. So impressive.
And Willaris on the Lissandra just couldn't keep up there, and it was amazing to see him try and catch up with the Lissandra, but Mid-Beast just took it out in the end and was doing so much burst damage, like you said.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot that Willaris could actually do on that Lissandra. Mid-Beast having opted into the split pushing and the farming, while Lissandra was going for the roam, trying to have presence. Did do a lot of good ganks early with that roam, but it didn't translate into anything, whereas the farm actually did.
And in the end, when Mid-Beast finally grouped, that's when we saw a quick and swift end by Bang against Chaos, and Chaos might have to reevaluate their team comp this time.
Yeah, maybe. They have to either look at what the team comp from Bang is and work against it, or just try something completely different. But what they had was good, it just did not work out well for them in the end.
And of course, Shiny on the Corki was doing so much damage with an early Trinity Force and so much map pressure in the end.
Yeah, there was a lot of map pressure in the end. It was ridiculous how much damage he was doing once he got the Trinity Force, the Sork Shoes, and then worked into the next item. It was disgusting, but it was very, very painful.
But that's what Corki does normally. When he gets ahead, he just has so much proc damage, and especially with that big one coming out, it was doing a bit of AoE damage to the team.
That's right, and he got ahead and he stayed ahead. Corki, very strong mid-game champion, but if you get ahead in the mid-game, you're definitely still relevant coming into the late-game stages.
Early as well with the Phosphorus Bomb against that bottom lane, and felt kind of sorry there because he was aiming that so well, and you were seeing the Graves who was getting pushed out at half health every time.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure coming out just from laning phase alone. Even level 1, you could see the Morgana and the Corki having a lot of pressure, as we see the champ select coming out very shortly.
Yeah, we do, as we move into the champion select now, and Ari being the first ban.
Yeah, Ari's still a targeted ban, taking it away from, I believe it is Willaris in there, not letting him get that assassin.
And Sejuani being taken out after last game in such a positive display by Saw, and although they didn't win that, they really played so strong.
Yeah, they showed that they don't want to have the Sejuani. He did do a lot of work. Regardless of how the results went, the Sejuani had a big impact in that game. Still a very scary champion. They thought they do not want a part of that whatsoever.
And Aurelia and Zed being banned by Chaos Esports. Getting rid of that Aurelia again, I guess they do find concern with Minky, as Vi gets banned as well.
Yeah, Aurelia banned, taking it away from Minky. Zed being taken away from Mid-Beast this time. You could see how much of an impact that guy was having. It was phenomenal. And now the Nidalee ban coming out looks to be another targeted ban, but it's also taking away a lot of junglers right now.
Yeah, Nidalee being taken out means there's going to be no javelin toss coming through the map and doing what we've seen in other games. Just a lot of assassination coming through.
That's right, but having banned the Nidalee, Sedge, and Vi right now, it doesn't leave open a whole lot of jungle options, mostly the meta ones, which is weird enough. We've got Rek'Sai available, we've got Jarvan available, Lee Sin available. All these strong picks are still there because the ban seems to be much more targeted than specific for a meta.
As we see, the first pick for Bang has actually been the Kalista there by Minky, so a nice pick if Shiny really wants to go with the Kalista and start hopping around a bit.
Yeah, and it tends to show the team comp and how it's going to unfold from that first pick there being Kalista. They want to scale. They want to get to the late game phase, or at least the 2 or 3 item spike phase where Kalista really comes into its stride and does so much work.
Yeah, and Kalista being picked against there, but Siren comes in with a teleported ignite. Someone is still running, so we haven't seen that on Siren just yet unless they change it, but that'd be an interesting Siren.
Yeah, definitely going to change that one out, as he has now switched to the flash. I don't think you'd see an ignite teleport Sion coming out. He does want a flash. He wants to have a bit more utility. Not as mobile as a Hecarim is, so definitely a smart decision to switch to the flash.
Sadly, it's not going to catch on this time, but Nami getting locked in as well, and a nice disengaged support there.
Yeah, Nami very good at disengage, very good at being able to like poke down the lane. There's a bit of sustain. Just does an all around a lot of work. Nothing particular, nothing specific, but a lot of everything, and does it very well.
Yeah, and we're looking at maybe a Trundle would come out. That would be very hilarious. As at the moment, Trundle in this 5.5, he is such a huge force. That Frozen Domain getting buffed to 20% life still.
That's right, 20% at level 1 on everything killed gives you back that health. Ridiculous now. And we've just seen that locked in. It is a Minky Whale special, but we're yet to see if it's going to be in the jungle or the top lane.
Hopefully we'll be seeing it in the top as Trundle in the top lane, or Trundle in the jungle. Doesn't have the same ring to it like Rumble, but, you know, close enough there. As we look at Garen maybe in Fiddle, what are these team comps happening right now? A lot of hovering, but a lot of strange picks in the potential there.
I think we'll disregard those two until they're locked in, Jake, but we'll look more so at the Trundle pick and the fact that if it's picked against a Scion, how that lane is going to go. I feel as though looking at a Trundle Scion lane, Scion, a big brute with a lot of damage this early, not going to really have an impact on a Trundle.
No, definitely not. And Trundle's not something you normally see. As we see Lucian locked in there for Mini, who it's a great pick and not popular, but still doing a lot of damage in the lanes.
Yeah, and we've seen it before, and last time it was picked, it was in fact against the Kalista, so there might be a matchup difference there where Lucian actually does quite well in the laning phase, allows him to scale into the mid to late game where he is so very relevant.
Yeah, Lucian being relevant, and now finally Lulu is the second last pick. Willaris locking that in strong.
Lulu, very good flex pick, but we're looking at other. It's definitely got to be the mid Lulu right now, actually, which really cements that they're going to get maybe a carry jungler to try and do a bit of damage. Lulu doesn't really do all that much damage coming into the late game stages, drops off a fair bit. You've got the Scion, who's just going to be a tank, so they're going to have a lot of front line, but at the moment, their damage is a little bit questionable.
It definitely is. We see the last pick for Bang Esports going to be really crucial to topping off their team comp with. They already got Kalista and Janna, and especially with the Trundle as well. They've got to have an interesting pick.
And I do like the hover of Syndra here. I'm a big fan of this champion, and we do know that mid-beast plays a lot of Syndra, and I hope that he locks this in. With the Rek'Sai already locked in right now, very smart pick on the jungler, taking it away from Chaos Esports. They're looking for damage right now, and they just took away one of the biggest damage junglers left open.
There's Rek'Sai popped right there, and I'm so glad to see it. We finally see Syndra on the Rift.
Yes, we finally do get a chance to see Syndra. She got completely removed out of all solo queue and rank together with the changes on her stun, but they've reverted it, and she's strong again, and I look forward to seeing how good she is now.
As we see Mumu being hovered as well. Lucian, Lulu, Nami, and Sion. Quite a nice team comp already. A lot of CC again, and a lot of engage and disengage, and the ability to re-engage, and engage is a really good word there.
Engage is a great word, and it looks like that's what they're trying to do right now. They seem to have a lot of engage and not a lot of anything else. Like, they have engage, disengage, but the damage is going to be lacking unless the Lucian gets fed. They're going to have the Amumu. It's going to be followed by a Scion ult, a Nami wave, a Lulu ultimate. They're going to have a massive combo that's going to do a lot of crowd control. It's going to slow everyone, do so much damage, but it does drop off.
They're putting all their eggs in one basket with this Lucian, and if he's the only damaged person, as well as Willaris with the Lulu, well, we're going to be seeing a bit of a struggling team comp as we compare it to Bang, who have the Trundle, the Rek'Sai, the Syndra, and with that Kalista and Janna down bottom, that's going to be a threat.
Yeah, they also have a lot of answer to the tankiness right now. They've got Syndra can blow people up. Kalista going for the Blade of the Ruined King potentially. Going to be able to shred tanks. They've got a Trundle whose ultimate removes the tankiness from tanks. They have a lot of answers to what Chaos Esports are offering right now, which is tanky champions.
And Trundle, I love how he's coming back in. This is not something we'd normally see, but Trundle is going to do huge damage just all across the board.
I'm very excited to see this Trundle right now, Jake, and it is on Minky Whale of all people, who we all know is an amazing Trundle, and we have not seen this in a while, but given it's the new patch, we're on 5.5, I cannot wait to see this Trundle.
And think about the coordination with Trundle and Rek'Sai, and Rek'Sai can come in so much early ganking potential, but with Trundle as well, so much lockdown with his CC.
That's right, and I'm going to throw a ballpark your way here and just see what you think. What if Trundle starts Gromp?
That would be quite interesting.
That gives you a lot of gold. It's very easy for him to do, given his blight. He'll get level 2 very quickly. He may not even need to use his teleport to get back to lane.
That is very interesting, considering that his bite takes away damage and also adds damage to himself. So that might be a quick Gromp, or he could even start Frozen Domain and not lose too much health there.
Well, Trundle being a champion, he can essentially do whatever he likes in terms of level 1 jungling. He has that capability, does not need the smite to do anything like that. And he, depending on where he starts, he may not even need to use the teleport and just walk there.
Yeah, the Troll King going to be a huge impact in that top lane. Going up against the Scion, who in the top lane we've seen being so tanky, but we haven't seen a Trundle versus Sion matchup just yet.
That's right. We have not seen that. And it's the first time we are seeing Trundle. So it'll be very interesting to see how that unfolds and how we see the Trundle actually try and have an impact in this lane against the Sion, who Sion, very hard to stop as it is. I don't know if it'll work.
And the unstoppable onslaught against that other ult from Trundle. So Sion's just going to build straight tank. And you know, Trundle's ult, it really scales with health. Health and armor, of course. So maybe it's going to backfire a bit for Sion.
It could backfire for Sion depending on how he reacts and builds for the laning phase. It might affect team fighting with Sion. You know that Sion wants to initiate, be in the front line and just try his best not to die. What if Trundle ults that Sion? It could go downhill very quickly.
Yeah, definitely could go both ways. And as we look at the mid lane of a mid lane, you don't see too much apart from the Lulu, but in the mid lane there, we've got a Lissandra there.
That's right. We've got the...
Sorry, excuse me, the Syndra. Close enough.
Yeah, that's right. We've got the Syndra up against the Lulu. Not very common, as we said. You don't often see the Syndra, but it's nice to see them bringing out two different champions, and it's two champions that they're both very competent on, and it'll be very scary to see how they use them to try and push lane advantages and maybe do what they did last game and just rotate really effectively.
Yeah, and Syndra having so much burst potential with that ult. As soon as she gets cooldown reduction, those Qs turn into like so much beneficiary, especially when that ult has about 6 orbs flying at someone.
Yeah, and I believe they did nerf the damage on Syndra's Q a little bit, but it doesn't really make a massive difference once you hit level 9 on Syndra because of the passive that she has buffs the damage by a fair amount. So looking towards level 9 on Syndra, maxing the Q first, she'll still be just as strong as ever.
And with cooldown reduction, you can't help but to think that there's going to be a lot of orbs going on the map, a lot of spamming in that, and it's got a really low cooldown already.
It does have a very low cooldown, and with cooldown reduction, only going to get lower. The more balls on the map that she has, the more damage her ultimate is going to do. And that is a very scary situation to be in if there is so many on the map. And
moving down to the bottom lane, we see a Callista versus Lucian, which is yet another team comp we don't normally see. And with the supports coming in, with the Janna, and the Nami, 2 disengaged supports there as well.
Yeah, Nami does have the potential to play aggressive though, whereas the Janna's aggression is more so shielding herself and just trying to auto-attack to get stacks on her AP support item. But looking at the matchup itself, we've seen one before where the Lucian did alright in laning phase, decided to get a little bit further ahead. Callista went for a greedy item build, and it backfired. And you can see the Lucian became a lot more relevant, a lot quicker.
Yeah, and Callista hopefully going to pick up the Renan's Hurricane or might go for a different build path there, as we've seen recently. And it really can go anyway, not depending on the build path, but it's quite situational, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And there are situations now, given the new jungle item, as we have discussed, where Blade of the Ruined King feels like it's going to become a lot more relevant with this patch. And I'd love to see that be built first and just to see how much impact it has on the tank junglers building that Cinderhulk.
And we haven't seen a Cinderhulk just yet come out on Amumu, but Amumu not being relevant really that much in this new patch either.
That's right. Amumu is another champion that we haven't seen a whole lot of, though a lot of people are experimenting with Amumu in solo queue, given the fact that the Cinderhulk is now released. So he's going to be a lot tankier in the jungle. It's going to be a lot harder to kill him in the jungle. But much like the Sejuani from the last game, there is a chance to punish the Amumu in that level 1 to 3 jungle phase, maybe steal the blue buff away, and he'll have a very bad time.
And I'm glad we're seeing so much more variety in these games, especially since the last couple of games have been very general and very set out. And this one, a lot of variety coming with the champions, such as Amumu and such as Syndra and Trundle.
Yeah, we're looking at both teams right now, and they're both essentially going to be the best team Oceania right now with their Chippies-esque playstyle and champions being used, and I cannot wait to see what they actually do with this.
Of course, as we move into the game now of possibly the final game, if Bane can secure their lead, or if maybe Chaos can introduce a lead of their own, making it 1-1, and we can go to a bit of a playoff there as we move into the game. And Sion, he's going to be a bit of a force to be reckoned with if they look to invade.
And we could see Chaos Esports are grouping right now. There's all of them in one bush except the Lulu, who put the ward down in middle. You need to have that ward in middle to see what the enemy team is doing. If they try an early push into a side bush of mid, it's very easy to cheese people like that. So smart of them to place that ward, and they're now stacking a spot, whereas Bang are fanning.
Yeah, and a very good playstyle to start off in case they do catch someone out, and now a bit of Zazzle there.
It's actually quite common to see teams do that when they have the Sion. A lot of teams like to ward the bush that they were stacking, so you can easily get a full knock-up on that person trying to ward it and catch them out and basically kill them on the spot.
And Minky, exactly like you said here, might actually be starting Gromp and getting that level 2 advantage, as well as we might see that coming from Sion as well as Matrix. He might do exactly what he did last game, and likewise with Minky.
Yeah, Matrix is going to take a little bit longer, I feel, though, given the fact that most Sions have to die to actually get that jungle camp and then have to teleport back to lane. Minky, the Gromp gives back a lot of health if you kill that minion. So if you do that with the Trundle passive, you're going to have a lot of health. You may not even need to recall. You probably get there very early. But we are seeing a lane swap out of Chaos Esports here.
A little bit early here, but it looks like there will be a lane swap with Mini going top with Skid Life. And down the bottom there, we still got Callista with Shiny and What the Goat, who are going to stick bottom, but a nice early lane swap.
And this is the first time we're seeing a lane swap come out here that hasn't been predicted and reacted to. So it's the first time we're going to see non-standard lanes, as the Scion is going to go down to those wolves and attempt to take them. Janna has something to say, though.
No, What the Goat is already in this enemy jungle. He's going through there, and maybe Scion now is looking for the pressure, but he might not actually be able to finish this, as Zillion, he does help him just a little bit, as What the Goat is still in here, and he's just playing hard to get. He's just aggravating this Amumu.
He actually got one of the little wolves, and that denies Scion from getting level 2. That and the experience was shared between Amumu and the Scion. So now he's going to teleport to lane. He's going to be level 1. Minky's going to be level 2, so he does have an advantage.
And Minky also picked up the wolves on top of that. He also picked up the Gromp, and now it looks like he's picking up blue, but I'm not sure if he can finish this one. He's got a bit of life still, but it might not be enough, as he doesn't have enough mana, and he might have to back off here.
Yeah, I think he's realized that he couldn't take it, but he did take the little ones from the blue buff. He's trying to get as much experience as possible before he has to actually go back to that lane, knowing that they're freezing it. So the second they start to push, he will be there.
And Seb already making an opinion back in this jungle, as Matrix looks for his level 2, not able to get it yet, and they're challenging for the blue buff. That's not rightfully theirs.
Seb has the smite available, so it's going to be very hard for them to stop that, given the Scion being level 1, not even the jungler. So he's just going to have to go back to lane. Amumu's going to be a little bit worse for wear, as he looks to push topside near where the Trundle is.
And Matrix has already been denied, but Minky up top, already getting pressured by Mini, and he's getting a lot of damage done to him, but he's level 3, mind you, so Skid Life doesn't have many levels on him.
Yeah, and it's worth actually pointing out Amumu is level 2, and he's looking at invading the blue buff, maybe, to try and give himself a little bit of something. That, or just the Scuttlebug. He needs something right now. He doesn't have any jungle. His blue's been taken. His wolves have been taken. He has nothing left.
And look how denied Matrix is at the moment. That bottom lane, he can't even go close to the tower, because he's just going to get bursted down, and Saul's just going to try and make up for it and get a couple of levels under his belt so he can come help out. And the Scion down bottom, and look at him. He's standing there. He's a bit sad.
And he's level 1.
Level 1. The turret's gone down. The first turret of the game, and you can't help but shed a tear for him.
As an extremely quick turret to take it. It was a very smart rotation with Bang Esports. They certainly know what they're doing right now. They know that the Amumu's behind. They recognize that fact. Amumu can't do the 3v1 situation like you're seeing from the Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai is very far ahead. He has levels. He's invaded. He's stole the jungle. The Amumu cannot replicate that, and so it's essentially a free tower.
And Matrix finally getting level 2 there. We're so happy for him. Finally reaching level 2. Able to be with the rest of the boys.
Now, they're actually going to get a very early dragon here as well. Callista, very hard to steal from. They're going to take it very convincingly.
Yeah, and there goes the first dragon for Bang, who already have such great pressure in this early game. It's a 1k goal lead already. 1 dragon, 1 turret.
Yeah, no kills across the board. Pretty much all of the gold is coming down to the fact that Trundle's getting farm.
And Minky taking a lot of damage there, having to pop out the frozen domain to assert his dominance, but he's still getting a lot of farm.
And it's funny that they decided to lane swap this. They know that Trundle's bad in lane swaps. They recognize that. But look how much health that he actually gets back every now and then when a minion dies. The fact that it's now 20%, it's so noticeable.
Yeah, and Minky still surviving this lane as the stoppage comes out there, forcing a flash out of Mini, and a nice rotation from Shiny.
Yeah, so they've actually opted to swap back now and make it a standard lane. They've managed to get enough farm. They've got the bottom tower. Sion's in a pretty bad place at the moment, and Minky would very easily be able to trade with him.
Yeah, of course, we got Shiny and What the Goat coming to that top lane, ready to match up Mini and Skid Life, who standard lanes, but just swapped around for the time being.
Yeah, and it's going to be very hard for Chaos Esports to react to this because Lucian and Nami both out of mana. Callista and Janna have just recalled. They're feeling fresh. They're going to come top. They're going to push it in. And there's no real answer to come out.
And let's look at the farm here again with Mid-Beast already. He's quite even with Willaris. And last game, we didn't see too much participation with farm from Willaris. He's getting out-farmed quite easily. But it's good to see that he is even with Mid-Beast at the time being.
Yeah, there's a different lane dynamic at the moment. You've got the Syndra who's going to play aggressively, but the Lulu who's never going to get pushed out of lane. The difference is they all have mana right now on Bang Esports. You can see that they've all got the pressure behind them. Lulu's going to have to recall very soon, but Rek'Sai's hanging around as well.
Yeah, Rek'Sai looking for some opportunity on Amumu to get him caught in the middle of that. But Seb, he doesn't have too much vision control, so he's going to come into Willaris, who's just popped his 6 and has to force a flash. You'd think there could be something else done there, as Willaris doesn't have to use his ult, but maybe he could have ult instead of using a flash. And we see our first blood going up there, and poor Lucian.
Yeah, Lucian not having much to do about that. You know, no mana. There's not much he can respond with. He can't use any spells, can't get away, as Amumu does come in here.
Oh, and Saw's looking for the remuneration there as Shiny takes him out. And there's the second kill, and Shiny's already got 2 kills.
And Amumu is just having a really rough time right now. He has been in trouble since level 1, where he couldn't even get his own blue buff because of the invade from Bang. They've really made him hurt. They've made the Scion hurt. They've rotated so well, and it's so impressive to see from a new team like Bang to be able to rotate like this.
They are being such bullies in this game, and I got to say, Bang, you're being a bit harsh, but look, at least they're playing so aggressively early.
They're showing they have what it takes to make the OPL right now, Jake. They're showing that they have got the knowledge, the understanding, the rotations, everything required of them to be a top 8 team in Oceania. And you can see it coming out of them right now.
Yeah, and the gold lead even furthering down as we see nearly 2k coming up there. The one dragon still sitting there, but what the goat taking a lot of aggro. A nice bubble from Skid Life, but doesn't have the damage to finish it off, as we might have seen Lucian maybe get a bit more participation there.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to get the kill there. Nami hit a nice bubble, but I don't think they were communicating that that was about to happen, as they respond by pushing mid.
And Minky once again showing so much control over this map. He's now come to the mid turret, and Minky doing a lot of damage to the turret early as Saw gets stunned, and a lot of damage coming out as Minky goes through with it with the ult, but he's not going to go all the way to the end.
And this is Trundle right now coming into its stride almost this early in the game. He's not going to be able to die almost from this point onwards, and he's building a longsword.
And Chaos can't really respond to that, where Sion, he's building into maybe the Frozen Heart or the Iceborne Gauntlet. I very much doubt the Iceborne Gauntlet, but he's building armor in response to that.
Yeah, you'll most likely see the Sion going into the Frozen Heart, getting some cooldown reduction, and just trying to stay in the lane, get some items. He really does need those items.
And Seb, oh my god, he's taking a lot of damage, but it doesn't matter as Saw turns his attention straight to what the goat, and they need this first kill against Bang, but Chaos can't secure it as they're going to play a bit more passively now. As we now see a bit of an engage on Shinny might be caught out. He might have bitten off a bit more than he can chew. We're looking for a flash here. We're looking for something, but what a nice Howling Gale to save Shinny, but it's not enough, unfortunately, as Mini takes him out, and the ult from Sion comes in, the on-stop onslaught, unable to hit what the goat, but he's still being pressured by 4 members of Chaos, but it's not enough to take him out. And Seb going to try and defend this, but we might see the first turret going down for Chaos.
And that all stemmed from them trying to invade the red buff. So they did get the red buff, but a very aggressive positioning from the Kalista forced them into a position they don't want to be in. Janna getting a little bit overexcited, trying to help. Almost saved the day, but Lucian having to use those summoner spells to actually catch up, and he did get the kill there.
And isn't it amazing with so much early game pressure that Chaos can show them, hey, we can do this as well, and they now take the blue buff, and Mid-Beast can't do too much here unless he has a bit of vision.
Yeah, pressure at this stage of the game as they actually just take that away.
That was amazing.
He did have vision. It's something that you have a very hard time stopping against the Syndra, and it's very cute, but done so well.
Against 4 members of Chaos, that was absolutely fantastic. As Mid-Beast picks up a well-deserved blue, and a lot of CS coming his way as he starts to outscale Willaris just a little bit.
Yeah, there's a 2k gold lead coming across the board now. It's 1-0 in Dragons, 2-1 in Towers. The next Dragon coming up in 25 seconds, though, might be the next play.
And a lot of ward control coming through from Bang. Once again, we see the rivers are so well warded. Matrix trying to drop a pink in there, but Seb, he's looking for a bit of warding coverage. As Sion looks to engage on Seb, he's doing quite a lot of damage, but not enough maybe to finish the kill.
Yeah, he's going to do a lot of damage, but it's never going to really be enough to secure a kill on a champion like that. They're going to maybe try and push them out and do the Dragon as they are going here on the mid.
Oh, Willaris just gets bursted by Mid-Beast, and that ult is tearing him apart as he picks up his first kill, and now Minky is going to solo Dragon for only a few short seconds.
Yeah, and this is the perfect time for them to do Dragon. Lucian only had 1,300 gold, but he's now opted into going for the Ghost Blade. He's bought that Brutalizer. He's made the decision that his team needs to make a stand sometime soon. Otherwise, this could continue to go downhill.
And there goes the second Dragon for Bang, who are showing such exponential growth in this early game stage. Almost a 2k gold lead, which is still there, and it's just resonating into such a powerful early game.
They actually have caught Amumu here as well.
Oh, Saw's going to regret this very much as he gets CC'd to the death. and Minky picks up his first kill with a Vampire Acceptor, and now they're looking for Mini, who might be a bit zoned out. He's going to try and do the culling, but the culling, he doesn't have it up just yet, and Mini trying to get out of this one. But what the Goatee's saying, I'm still going to come in here as the Nami wave comes through, not going to reach the goal.
Yeah, good decision from Bang to back off there. A great Nami wave to say, if you're coming any deeper, you're not actually going to get my AD carry right now, and disengaging it essentially. So.
Yeah, and he didn't decide to put through the culling there, or he just waited for that relentless pursuit, waited for the slow from what the goat, and it was actually pretty well timed from Mini.
Now it looks like they're going to push the top tower here. They do have a numbers advantage, but Lucian using his ultimate might be able to prevent it.
And the culling there, but Minky doesn't care too much as he's just walking around with his huge movement speed, and now they're looking for a bit of an engage as Chaos are seizing this opportunity, but maybe not as well as they should have.
And Bang definitely going to back off right now. The Syndra completely out of mana. Minky definitely due for a buy. He's got about 1,500 gold right now. If he's going for the Blade of the Ruined King, he's going to be pretty close to being able to finish that one off, not anytime soon right now. And yeah, they're starting to overwhelm a little bit.
And it's going to be interesting to see if we see Trundle also building that aggressive build with the Trinity Force, really proccing the Q and the huge damage that comes with that burst. So since Bang are doing so well, let's see if they use that to an advantage.
That's right. Now, Amumu has finished his jungle item. He's 0-2-0 with 40 CS. CS is on point with the Rek'Sai at the moment, so it's not too bad. Rek'Sai having no kill contribution as well. He's even with his, essentially, the lane opposition that he's against. But everyone else across the map right here just feels like they're further ahead.
And Syndra already picking up the Morellonomicon. Bit of a mouthful there, but the Grail there for a bit of mana regen for Willaris, but not finishing his first item yet.
Yeah, opting for the Morellos here on the mid-beast against the what is going to be the Athenes on Lulu. He's going for damage. Lulu's going to... Not often getting the Morellos. You need that sustain a little bit. You need to be a little bit tankier. You don't want to ult yourself, is the point.
And Seb, once again, making a name for himself in the enemy jungle. And Sword's going to get a bit aggravated by that. He wants the Gromp. He wants the passive. So whoever smites it first might be able to get this. As the Umburrow comes in there, and the smite goes off perfectly for Seb. And there's the Gromp passive.
Yeah, Seb's just the invade king right now. He has not spent much time in his own jungle. Most of it in Amumu's. And they have really made him hurt.
Yeah, I'd like to see the jungle item come out where you do get a bit more extra gold for invading the enemy's jungle, because it'd be so relevant right now.
Oh, it would be relevant right now, but I definitely do not want to see that. It would promote such bad habits right now in competitive games. But we are seeing a lot of denial right here on all of Chaos Esports. Bang rotating so well. And
another turret going out in the top lane as all turrets getting sieged, and Minky's faced with a 1v3, which he might not be able to compete with. And Matrix picking out his first kill, and that's probably got to be a breath of fresh air for him.
Yeah, and the response at the moment seems to be pushing of the mid tower, but it is a Syndra and a Janna, and it's going to take a very long time for them to get this tower, though there are 4 here now.
And we talk about the rotations from Bang, which they've done so well just then. The disengage coming back, but with the minion wave, we can't help but think that they might attack this again.
Well, with the minion wave on the way now, Seb is fairly low, and you can tell Amumu really wants to engage right now. You have to show a little bit of caution.
And Saw taking a lot of damage, but mid-beast comes in with a flash, and I don't believe the Ignite went off either, so Saw going to survive with the help of Lulu, and the Howling Gale coming through to try and CC as Shiny's doing a lot of damage, but might be a bit out of position in this enemy jungle, as now the culling comes through, and Minky taking the brunt of it. Too much damage for him at the moment. Doesn't have too much tankiness as Willaris comes in, but he's getting back so much life still, and the Chomp comes in, and now Bang are just demolishing Chaos as the triple kill comes in as well. And there's the double kill from Syndra. Might be taking the pentakill, but hey, what a awesome rotation.
And those kills went on exactly who they wanted them to be on. The Trundle looked like he was caught out of position with that teleport, but he used his ultimate, his Blade of the Ruined King at the same time, and he just got all of that health back. It was a massive bait. Janna ultimate as well, saving him, keeping him alive, and Syndra doing so much damage, forcing the Lulu ult onto the Amumu.
And look how much lifesteal, exactly what you said. The lifesteal was huge. He was about to die. He was one hit away from Willaris, obviously doing a Lulu Q, but that lifesteal just gave him back half of his health in an instant.
That's right. Look at him right now, taking away the red buff as well. Full health after a fight where he was on none.
And we weren't wrong about Trundle being such a huge force in the game right now, and we might see this come back more into competitive players. Trundle making a name for himself and Minky playing him to the best of his ability.
Exactly right. And we can't just talk about Minky. The rest of the team is doing so well at the moment. Seb's had a lot of presence, and he's really put the Amumu behind. Callista and Jana have been doing a lot of work, and they've been getting really big in their own right.
And speaking of big, Shiny has already got the Bloodthirster with the Berserker Greave, so a lot of attack speed and lifesteal coming through, and the Rend is working quite nice because of that huge damage at the moment, and I'd love to see if that recurve bow obviously will be turned into the Renan's Hurricane.
It should be going to the Runan's Hurricane, and once he gets that, he is going to be very scary.
And a nice dodge from Shiny from the bubble from Skidlife. And Cloud, Chaos trying to push back against this team, and it's working so far in the bottom lane as they like to stack up quite a bit here. But what the goat, a nice Howling Gale to disengage that, and we might see a bit more coming from Bang in this stage as the engage comes in, and there's Curse of the Sad Mummy coming straight on, and Chaos bursted down that for an easy double.
Very, very aggressive play right there from the members of Bang trying to defend that turret. Very hard for them to do that when they're outnumbered, and you could see that the rest of Bang were coming to rotate from the outside at River, but the rest of Chaos Esports came in from the Tri-Bush. They got there first, and there was no way they could react.
And although Saw should be saving his ult for the team fights, which at the moment they can't really win, it's really good to see him use it for a couple of picks, and that's what's going to get them ahead.
That's right. They need to make picks right now. That's the power play with Dragon live at the moment. Getting those teal kills is a big deal. They're going to get the first Dragon. Percentage increased damage. Champions like a Mumu who do % damage, it's going to help.
And as we see this Dragon going down, Seb is quite aware as he pops his head in, maybe a bit early, but Saw still wants this Dragon as he's looking for that Dragon, and the smite goes off a bit earlier. Saw now takes it. There's the first Dragon from Red, but at what cost as Saw gets bursted down? But having said that, Seb is in a sticky position as Matrix comes down. He has to tunnel out of there. Now Minky out of his domain, but still doing a lot of damage and taking some as Willaris. He's looking to escape here, but Minky's not going to let him. He's getting smashed down. Shiny's in that back there, sandwiching it off. And look how many deaths we have across the board. 4 for none.
Yeah, they came in there. They really wanted to stop them from getting that Dragon. They didn't, unfortunately, stop the Amumu hitting the smite. And unfortunate early smite by Rek'Sai. They did manage to pick up the Amumu, though, getting over-aggressive, trying to stay for the Dragon. They did end up getting the Lulu as well, who had to use her ultimate very late, but had to be on herself. And they're now going to look to push mid here.
And this is so much pressure coming through, and Bang just owning this game so far. And looking at the gold lead again, which is so exponential, like the last game there, we have about 8,000 gold and 5 turrets to 2, and this early game pressure is setting the tone.
That's right, 13 to 14 kills at the moment. You can see a 30 CS gold last hitting lead in the mid, so it's going to translate to a lot of gold. Minky, 115, not exactly on the scoreboard for carrying the game, but doing a lot of work. And most of this game has come down to out-rotating. It's 5 to 2 in turrets, and that's all come down to being at the right place at the right time.
And Chaos are going to have to change that if they want, with a nice siege down the mid lane, while Bang are a bit out of position. So we might be seeing the mid turret go down as Shiny looks to defend this by himself and clear that wave. And he hasn't picked up the Renan's Hurricane yet, but he's getting pretty close there.
And Mumu having the ultimate available again, they may try and get another pick with it. They need to try and get something. If they can get 2 more kills, maybe get them on the carries on Lucian or Lulu again, it'll start to help them snowball. But we said it at the start of the game, their damage coming into the late game is not all there.
No, definitely not. There's a lot of CC through as we've seen, and with those small picks with the 5v2, that's when their damage is going to come through, especially when they don't have too much to focus about. And Curse of the Sad Mummy with that lockdown, it's just going to be a wombo combo, and the picks is what's going to possibly turn it around for them.
Yeah, you're relying on them hitting carries when they initiate fights and trying to either get picks to get themselves further ahead now or just doing the perfect team fight. They are going to have to try and execute a really good team fight. And
executing is what Bang has been doing throughout this game, as Minky just farming up once again. A nice comparison between him and Sion, and Matrix about 40 CS behind now.
Yeah, you can attribute that mostly to the lane swap that they did. So well played that Bang were in control of the lane swap, and they got the farm wherever they needed the farm, and it went on to the right people. And the way that they played that was so expertly done that you have to give credit to Minky channeling previous experience and giving it to the rest of the team.
Yeah, and he's just doing what the rest of his team doing here at the moment, which is pressuring these lanes. And Chaos can't even come out of their base without maybe getting picked off or without risking themselves.
They're going to have to try and do something soon, though. They've got a lot of control outside the base. Bang are really controlling what Chaos are doing, but they're going to have to make a play. They've got the team comp to team fight, and they need to do that.
And Seb is sick as waiting, but he does get CC'd there, and a nice ult from Jana to disengage, and he's only going to survive that with the grit of his teeth as the flash comes in from Willaris. A nice Q combo there against Seb. And now Muumu's coming in here as an unstoppable onslaught. Looks to get Midbeast, who's doing so much damage, and they want to get him out of here. But Midbeast, a nice stun, but still going to get taken down as a shutdown gone to Willaris, and it's turning against Bang very quickly as we now see Minky getting taken down. He can't handle this, and a nice timing for Curse of the Sad Mummy as it's now going to possibly take out Shinny, who doesn't die just yet, but Mini does take out Jana for a 3-for-0. Or a 3-for-0, and what a turn by Chaos.
And that's exactly what they need to do. A team fight like that, they get the initiation. Seb getting a little bit aggressive in his positioning, gets caught out from a bubble. They do ridiculous amounts of damage to him. And Mumu saving his ultimate until it hits 3 people. Very disciplined work. And the fact that they managed to do that with that gold deficit, so impressive.
And they're trying to get this turret down before Chaos can come in. Sorry, Bang, but as we see Minky come in, he does make a bit of an appearance, nearly taking out a Mumu. Saw survives only just there as Minky pushes him off the turret.
Yeah, Minky now finally starting to get some tanky items, going to opt towards that magic resistance, but has the armor boots. That coupled with his ultimate, he's starting to become the immovable tank. Did go for the Blade of the Ruin King first, though, for damage.
And Minky, he's just, we keep talking about him because he's such a huge player in this game at the moment, but those 5 assists contributing to Midbeast and Shiny, who are absolutely doing, as we see, the Jana, W's just following along the trail there.
Yeah, we've been talking about Minky, and he's definitely not the one carrying the game, but he's had such a big impact, and in team fights, he's going to have a big impact, as they may just be taking this uncontested.
And that was such a quick Baron, getting bursted down with Minky's excessive damage combined with Shiny, who, if they get a pick now, we might be seeing an early inhibitor get rushed down as they take down Red and are looking for a bit of an assassinate coming through.
Yeah, and this is a scary situation to be in as Chaos Esports. You see, they've got a 6k gold deficit and now the Baron buff to start pushing in. Their ults are up very soon, and they need to do exactly what they did last time and utilize that effectively to win a team fight, and they need to do it before minions start to overrun a base.
And some nice CC pushing them back from the mid laners. Seb tries to make the initiate here. Seb or Minky are going to be the ones we're going to watch for that crucial engage or that crucial pick, which could change the game. So Seb getting a bit tanky there, but not just yet.
No, he's going to have to start building tanky very soon. They have been, the team comp to Bang are running like to go AD items first, get some offensive stats about them, and then start to build tanky. So they're going to start to scale very soon. Dragon up in 5 seconds. It's going to be the 3rd Dragon. That's going to help a lot.
Yeah, and Dragon, of course, we talked about the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th being so essential. And with Bang having that mobility, we might see a bit more picks, which is what Chaos are looking for. So it's really denying them of that closer lead to the Dragon.
Well, extra move speed's definitely going to help them in not getting initiated upon. It's also going to help them initiate. It's going to help them split push. It's going to do a lot for Bang right now.
As we see, Willaris popping a Zonya's about 50 meters away from any sort of effort. So a lot of scarce tactics going on there.
They're definitely trying to siege the mid turret right now. They want to push their advantage. They've got that lead. They know they've got it. And they're just going to try and hit the turret as much as they can.
And Minky wants to try and get in here, but the culling comes out to push away Shiny, who's taking a lot of damage from it. And Bang, they're going to look for another opportunity.
They may even just stay here, wait for the next wave, and do the exact same thing again. If they can get 5 hits on the turret every single time that they go up, they'll get it eventually. And if they get that, it might just start to overflow and flood the base.
And with Minky and Seb tanking it all there, anything like the culling or the CC might actually just go to them, and then the rest of the carries can just take it down that turret with a lot of damage going there. As Skid Life does miss the stun, and both teams looking for an ability to engage, and Matrix Arts might be the one to jump in as Minky just tries and runs around and look for someone who comes out a bit too far.
You can see Chaos Esports is starting to get in between Bang and the turrets. They're saying that you cannot actually take this turret because if they do get it, they recognize it's a big deal. They're trying to stop it from happening. They're trying to find the perfect initiation. It just hasn't come up yet.
And look how long Bang are hanging around in this mid lane. You got to think, is there anything to gain, or are we not going to get this turret and we should just back off? As we see Bang has actually just moved to that bottom lane, and Shiny really bursting down that turret and taking Chaos by surprise. And now Shiny's jumping from turret to turret and using the minions as Sort comes in there, but Saw gets pushed out by Jana. Really nice timing there. Sign comes in as well, and Saw gets taken down before anything can happen. Now Matrix Art's taking the full brunt of the damage as Midbeast. A nice orb going in there, and Midbeast taking down as well as Matrix just gets collapsed upon, and not dead just yet, but looking for it. Already dead, sorry, with the passive, and Willaris getting taken out as well, and Bang might be getting this with 4 people already dead.
And we've spoken about the rotations that Bang have, and that was an extremely smart one right there. They waited for the minions to build up in bottom before they rotated. They kept the pressure mid, and they kept it for long enough so the minions that stacked bottom, easy to take the towers, and they're now going for the Nexus towers.
And with such huge turret pressure at this time of the game, you got to think whether they can get this last Nexus turret, but there is no minion wave there, so they might have to back off for the time being, but massive bottom line pressure coming up with an open inhib.
Yeah, they're looking to back off now as we actually see Lucian get a very, very sneaky kill there.
A nice culling for Lucian, nearly taking out What the Goat in the process, but getting Syndra, who's been giving him a couple of headaches in this game. And Mid-Beast, of course, doing so much damage. Why shouldn't he be hurting them so much? And we see Mini just getting zoned out there by Hal and Gale.
And you're right, Mid-Beast is doing ridiculous amounts of damage, actually missing the stun there at the start of the fight, just using the Q ultimate and almost instantly blowing up a carry from Chaos Esports.
And Saw, of course, using that Curse of the Sad Money to really zone off, but the really nice ult from Janna, and what the Goat used that so effectively before he can actually go in and bring the rest of his team in with him with that ult. He just got zoned out hard.
Yeah, the really key factor of that fight there was Amumu initiated the tiniest bit too early. The team couldn't get in there and do a lot with him. So the second that he ulted, Janna ulted him away, they could just kite back. Kalista managed to live, Janna lived, and they just managed to kill the tanks.
And look at the teleport coming in from Mickey, who now flashes around. He's a man of opportunity, isn't he? He goes straight to Willaris, and now Willaris getting zoned pretty hard, but all the CC from Chaos is trying to keep Willaris alive as Minky looks for another opportunity to make do of that. But the CC is so huge, and he can't even move at the stage. But what a nice cocky play by Minky, who's not done yet as he keeps trying to trade with Matrix, and he's still sticking around as Matrix wants this kill as well. And Minky trying to dodge all this CC coming through from Chaos, and a lot of damage coming to this mid turret, which they might just get.
Yeah, very confident play there by Minky, flashing over the wall. He does have the minions, and they look to go in here.
Here comes Curse of the Sad Money, but bursted before anything can happen. And now Mini's taking the brunt of the damage as Willaris again has to pop that Zhonya's, but Mini trying to get a kill and trying to trade off and keep the enemy team alive. But here we go with Matrix, who's getting bursted down as well. And Seb, he's so tanky right now that it does not matter. And a lot of the members from Bank are surviving. And even at the Nexus, he's getting hurt down, and this might be it for the game.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be the end of the game. An amazing team fight by Bang there, utilizing the Rek'Sai getting a knock up on heaps of people, Trundle sitting in the back line, and Shiny just getting free hits from start to finish. There's not much they can do to stop that.
Yeah, they don't care at the moment. They're going to get this last Nexus turret, and that might be it, unless Matrix or Saw can end this in time. And Squid Life going back to the Nexus to heal up, but Mid-Beast just auto-attacking this, as we will see this Nexus go down. And what a great finisher for Bang. That's 2-0 for them, and they're going to go through.
Yeah, they really showed their prowess in rotational skills there. From level 1 onwards, they had control of the entire map. They denied the Amumu from getting anything whatsoever. So impressive coming out of Bang there.
And I think we've got a replay coming up as well from that absolutely awesome game.
Now we're looking at a mid-game fight, 14 minutes in. The score is 4-2, but let's roll the replay. We see Syndra actually initiating here by going straight in on the Amumu, having to force the Lulu ult out, but Chaos Esports have something to say about that. They might want to go back in here as they actually go in, get the Amumu ult, and blow people up. Minky coming in with the teleport, not going to be able to stop them from getting kills. Janna ult saving him, but watch how much health Minky gets back here from just his ultimate and the Blade Lineal King. Ridiculous. Kalista and Rek'Sai coming in, managing to actually clean the fight up. You see the triple coming out for Kalista and a double for Syndra. The perfect team fight for Bang.
And look how fast they clean that up, especially with Minky just running around. And that lifesteal was absolutely crazy.
Yeah, and the score doesn't reflect how much work he actually did, but it doesn't reflect how much all of them did. It was phenomenal work from Bang.
No, definitely not. Well, that's all we have time for tonight. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for the OPL. And as for us, we will be back for the OCS next week. Stay tuned.